Hi, everybody. Welcome to, not really navel gazing, but I'll call it navel gazing, the Valley Indy podcast. My name's Eugene Driscoll. ValleyIndy.org is a website, online newspaper covering Derby, Ansonia, and Seymour. I'm going to try to bring you this evening. You can hear my daughter very excited in the background. The regularly scheduled meeting of the Derby Board of Apportionment and Taxation. Today's April 25th, by the way. We watched this meeting last night. It was a budget public hearing, and then there was some slight controversy at the end where the tax board in Derby opted not to vote on a final budget, voted not to adopt a budget, but to take some more time. It's not on the agenda for tonight's meeting, the budget that is, but there is a chance the board could vote to put it on the agenda and adopt the budget tonight. So we're going to pay attention. Let me just type something here. So tonight is I want to flash this across the screen. Derby Tax Board meeting. So this is being carried live right now on Valley Indy Facebook, Valley Indy Twitter, Valley Indy YouTube, and ValleyIndy.org. Let's see if this meeting is live. What's weird about Zoom is like I'm doing StreamYard to Zoom, and the option to join via browser on Zoom doesn't pop up until like Derby starts the meeting. It's slightly annoying. If you want to take a look at the agenda real fast, we can do that as well. I'll open it right here. Let me do the share screen. We can see what's tax board is they're the financial watchdogs of the city. Essentially, it's an elected board. They don't get paid or anything like that. Here's the agenda for tonight's meeting. Oh, actually, it's a very short agenda. I didn't realize that. So you got some transfers going on. This human resources thing is a little controversial because there's some push and pull between the mayor's office, the board of aldermen, and BOAT over who gets to decide the hours and who makes that full-time. I believe it's a part-time position transitioning to full-time. And then you've got a town clerk transfer on there. There's definitely some bad blood between the town clerk in Derby and the mayor's chief of staff. That's been noted in several articles, both in my publication and the Connecticut Post when they had a reporter covering the Valley. He left to go to public radio, but they're going to be hiring somebody else, I suppose. Just killing time. Let's see if this... Still not getting an option. The meeting's supposed to start at 6 o'clock. It is 5:58. Just waiting for the meeting to start. I'm not a big fan of these 6 o'clock meetings because people are still on Route 8. Oh, by the way, I guess if you're watching us live, there was an accident reported Route 8 South in Seymour near exit 20, MVA/other hazards. That was at 5:35, so about 20 minutes ago. So again, we're just going to stream this meeting, see what happens. I don't know if it'll be of note, but we'll see some democracy in action. I think the other Derby meeting going on tonight was the Cultural Commission is also meeting at 6 o'clock. Oh, that should be interesting. Great Give is next week. It's next Wednesday and Thursday. I think I've lined up. I sent out, 12 invitations today to various officials, groups, and nonprofits. I'm going to try to I'm going to be on StreamYard May 3rd and May 4th, doing Great Give interviews, trying to highlight and spread awareness about the groups you can support during the Great Give. Essentially, every nonprofit in the Greater Valley and New Haven participates in this thing. So you can donate online during the Great Give, which starts 8 a.m. May 3rd and concludes 8 p.m. May 4th. You can support them through a donation. Tax deductible. All the nonprofits, including this one, have been vetted. Tax information is available online before you donate. Really a great event. Valley Indy is looking to raise $10,000 next week. I've only just started prepping for it today because that's the reality when you're a one newsroom operation, essentially. So if you got an email from me, please respond as quickly as possible as to whether you're going to make it. I know we had Anne-Marie Dragonis, Seymour First Selectwoman, has agreed to come on. I'm going to tape an interview with Mayor Zekin in advance and then run it during the Great Give. Have a scheduled interview Friday to tape and then run during the Great Give with Anthony Mullen, who is part of a group hoping to restore the Ansonia Opera House with the help of the city of Ansonia. Susan Agame from Spooner House has agreed to come on. The new librarian, newly promoted head librarian at Derby Neck Library, is scheduled to come on. Thomas Harbison says, regarding 6 p.m. meetings, since they Zoom, you can attend via phone app. I would not, please, Tom. There are enough accidents on Route 8, Mr. Harbison. Let's not encourage people to watch the tax board meeting while they're not going 80 miles an hour, while they're stuck in traffic near exit 11. When I say I don't like the time something starts, it's really a personal thing. It means it's a pain in my butt, specifically. Because I don't know if you can hear my daughter. You can't leave my daughter alone. Hopefully this meeting didn't start because I am not getting an option to join via browser. And I cannot share the Zoom app through the StreamYard app. I need it to be in a browser. Try another one here, see if that works. No, I don't want to do it. I want to join through a browser. So I am excited about the Great Give next week. I haven't done in years past. Got somebody who wants to come on to talk. Yeah, the person who just texted me, I will send you an email and we can set up an interview for you to come on. Absolutely. If you're watching this, I just received your text and without a doubt, yes. In years past, I mean, also, I'm going to be honest with you. We have a core group. I mean, there's something like 18,000 followers of the Valley Indy, but it's a pretty small group that relatively small compared to the 18,000 that donate during the Great Give. So we are asking if you can do $100. If you donated $100 last year, please consider doing so again. The Valley Indy is reader and foundation funded. All right. Yes, I know I have at least 2 listeners, the person who's texting me and Tom Harbinson. We're grant funded. Our grant cycle is up. So the Great Give is an important chunk of the annual budget. We're about $140,000 or so. I still maintain an office in Seymour, although I don't go there. I just feel it's important to have an office, but I haven't been able to really get back because I'm doing this all from my basement. This meeting is not popping up. This might be bad, ladies and gentlemen. I am not getting, when I click on the meeting from the Derby website, I am not getting an option to join via my browser. Let me just check to make sure the meeting hasn't started. I can go in through the app. Just see what happens if I do that. Please bear with me. Streamed last night, got a couple hundred views. That was nice. Okay, so I don't think the meeting, all right, it's not open yet. It's opening right now. Oh, actually, we got problems, ladies and gentlemen. The meeting has begun, but there is no option to join. Oh, there it was. I just saw it. Okay, here we go. Apologies. We're joining the meeting in progress.
This meeting is being recorded.
73 Grove Avenue, Derby.
Hey, go ahead, Ron.
Having the great privilege of being elected by by the residents of Derby 17 times for the Board of Aldermen. I feel I must stand up to those residents, taxpayers of our great city. In recent years, we now have attorneys do more talking at our meetings than the members who have been elected to represent you. And unfortunately, the attorneys feel this administration does not have to abide by the city charter, and they rarely agree with the majority of the elected board. As we see again tonight for the position of Human Resource Director, the legislative board has always approved positions and salaries for those positions. According to the city charter, now lo and behold, we must have been doing it wrong for the last half century under the guidance of some of the best attorneys and administrations the city has ever had, both Democratic and Republican. I guess advertising fairly for open positions within the city is no longer needed to be done either. I ask the tax board to please follow your instincts. Don't fund anything that has not been properly brought to you. Remember, we work for the taxpayers of Derby, not for the mayor or attorneys hired by this administration or assistants that really have no regard for our charter or our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Anybody else from the public like to speak?
Sarah Wadomski, 95 Academy Hill Road.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I'm speaking tonight in reference to item 7.1 and the opinion document from Attorney Marini that is part of your packet. This opinion gives incorrect and partial info. Section 59 of the City of Derby Charter states that the salary and compensation of all other city officials and employees shall be fixed by the Board of Aldermen and Alderwomen. The information regarding the salary in Attorney Marini's opinion is incomplete. At the April 7th, 2022 meeting, the Board of Aldermen, Alderwomen approved the hiring of a temporary HR director at an hourly rate of $60 an hour for a max of 8 hours per week for 90 days. That comes out to $480 per week. And this can be found in the meeting minutes in item 12.1. At the December 19th, 2022 meeting, the Board of Aldermen, Alderwomen approved the HR director's compensation at $49 an hour for up to 8 hours per week. That is $392 per week. And this can be found in the meeting minutes in item 7. It should also be noted that at that meeting, the board had been informed that prior to the vote, the person in the HR director spot had already been receiving $49 per hour. And the Board of Aldermen, Alderwomen still has not been told who gave that directive to adjust the salary without approval, which violates Section 59 of the Charter. The board at its March 2023 meeting was working on creating an ordinance to establish the position of a full-time HR director in the city of Derby, as it is not yet defined. The board was also working on editing and refining a job description that was presented. Our board postponed these items to be finalized at our following meeting. At no time was the Board of Aldermen, Alderwomen contacted regarding the formation of the opinion you received, nor was it sent to the board. That in and of itself is suspect. What is happening here is an abuse of our boards and the charter. I urge you at this time to follow the Charter Section 59, which again states that the salary and compensation of all other city officials and employees shall be fixed by the Board of Aldermen, Alderwomen. And again, that was set on December 19th, 2022 at $49 an hour for up to 8 hours per week. And this board fully intends to finalize the ordinance and job description for the HR director, which will then include a full-time salary. Thank you, Tax Board, for all your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public like to speak? Anybody else from the public? Third and last call. All right, hearing none, we're gonna
Oh,
close.
no, I'm here. This is Karen Chemises, 25 John Street.
Gotta speak up, Karen. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me now? There's a lot of background on somebody else's, so if everybody else can mute, then my voice will be very clear.
I got you. Go ahead.
You've added discussion on the budget, and I did raise some questions yesterday with the understanding that the numbers would hopefully be provided prior to any adoption of the budget. I'm hopeful that you can report on the pension question that I asked. I hope that the board will be discussing the capital projects that need to be added. I hope that we look at really trying to take care of the city in a cost-effective way, but do it so that it's fair to the taxpayers, but also is keeping our city going forward. In terms of what was said by Ms. Radomski and Mr. Sill, I concur that it has always been the practice since I've been sitting in these meetings, and I have sat through many decades. It is the aldermen that have been making the choices of who is being chosen. Yes, the mayor certainly can present people, but it should be the alderman that's making the decision. So I would encourage the tax board to, at the very least, set aside the funding rather than putting it in the line items, and then have this worked out down the line, and it could be put in the special working balance so that it can be discussed further. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Anybody else from the public? Anybody else? Third and last call. All right, hearing none. Close portion 5. Number 6. Today, in an effort to
Mr.
work
Mayor.
cooperatively.
Mayor.
What?
Mr. Mayor, Amy Patel has entered the meeting.
Okay, excellent. So we got 8 of us now.
Yes.
Perfect. In an effort to work cooperatively and pass the budget this evening, I instruct my staff to prepare answers to the questions relevant to the budget adoption process contained in the document submitted to them yesterday at 5 a.m. I want to note that the number of the questions have been asked and answered previously. The same answer will be provided as was done previously, as is appropriate when asking the same question repeatedly. So additionally, I want to point out that the questions that are new should have been asked well before 5 a.m. on the date set aside for the final adoption of this budget. Regardless, every question related to the task before us of adopting a budget will be answered, including questions asked by the public at last night's meeting. I would ask that we proceed with this discussion regarding the adoption of the budget, that members strictly confine their questions only to such matters. Nancy, would you proceed with providing the answers to the questions that were asked?
Do they want to hear them as they go through the budget line items, or would they like to have me ramble them off in the beginning?
What's the pleasure of the board?
I believe that during the line item discussion, because it pertains to that line item, Nancy, if you don't
Yes,
mind, whatever
I agree.
pertains to that line item, then you can answer the question if it was asked about that line item.
I agree.
Thank you.
Okay. All righty. So,
Mayor, I'm sharing the budget. It's on the screen if that makes it easier for everybody.
everybody see this? All right, so start with the mayor's office. $208,583. Are we gonna go line by line like we did the last time? A motion in a second and an approval. Roberto, is that how?
No, that sounds about good, but if anybody has the,
Questions on, okay.
yes,
Okay, so mayor's office, 208,583. Can I have a motion?
Alberto motion.
Can I have a second?
So I'm sorry, just for the clarity of the record. So what is the motion? To adopt this as the final number?
Correct. Correct, Mark.
Okay, yeah, no, just want to make sure that, so everybody's on the same page.
Okay. So I have a second, please. Nobody wants to second?
Or you could go through each one and then go back for the motions and, make the changes and do it that way.
We agreed at the beginning of this, we were going line by department.
Correct.
So you either approve it or you don't approve it.
All right, so no second on this. So we can't even discuss this. Any questions on it?
I'll second it.
Excellent. Okay.
Who's that?
Any discussion? Thank you.
Isa Simmons, Derby.
Okay, thank you. All right, so any discussion on the mayor's department? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the mayor's office?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
I'm not quite sure whose mics are open where we hear the background noise that makes us, complicated to hear things.
All right, try it again. So is there any opposed to the mayor's line item? All right, hearing none. Sounds like that's an approval on that one. So we'll go to the next one.
Correct.
All right, probate court. Do I have a motion for $6,094?
Roberto?
I have a second, please.
Chris.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, so carried. Finance committee wages, $4,000. Can I have a motion to accept?
Chris.
Can I have a second?
Alberta.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Who are the members on the finance committee?
Nance,
I do believe that's on record in the town clerk's office. There are two members that I'm aware of.
Well, what are their names?
I'm actually not sitting in my office. I don't have it in front of me, but there are two members and the town clerk has them on record.
so, Mark, who is it? Subcheck and
Joseph and
The last ones I had were Joseph Sevchek and Michael Kelleher.
no, after Michael Kelleher appointed,
that, however, does not have any pertinence to the budget.
Certainly
But
does.
I'll be more than glad to get those answers for you tomorrow. It does not have anything to do with the budget.
Yeah, but like the last time when you said, come down anytime, and I got down there, you said, no, call and make an appointment with me next week. So I'm not buying that.
Jennifer, I have a job to do. And yes, I was not walking out of a meeting to attend to you.
You
So
went
please-
home.
So
You weren't
please,
working out of a meeting. You went home. And
So-
mind who you're talking to. I'm the elected official. You're the public employee there. You're the
Please.
all right,
public
Jen,
servant.
relax. All right, everybody relax, please.
please give me a call and make an appointment. I'll be more than glad to provide that information to you.
No, because Agatha could have given it to me right off the top of her head.
Oh, what's his name?
The other member's name is Gabriel Casillo.
Casillo and Subcheck.
And this wages that we are looking at, that line item, that's for two people?
Correct.
Hi, this is Samini Patel. Quick question. Are they both part-time or is this a full-time employee salary?
They're actually stipend employees. They're not actually employees. They get a stipend just like other board members do.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Thank you. Next one, town clerk. Bring it down a little bit more, Mark, please. There you go. Perfect. Town clerk, 284,955. I have a motion, please.
Hi, Roberto.
I have a second.
I'll second it, Chris.
Any discussion on this one? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Thank you. Register of voters. Excuse me. 64,253. Can I have a motion, please?
Hi, guys.
Can I have a motion for the register of voters, please?
I'll motion it, Jennifer.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it, Chris.
Excellent. Any discussion on this?
I have a question. Can you just, in regards to, this, can you tell me a little more background on this, item?
Which line item?
Sorry, 54, right? That's what we're, the
I
total. How do you, how do we get to that figure?
The 64,000?
Correct.
There are wages for the register of voters or the registers, which is both Democratic and Republican, and deputy wages. Voting machines, their cost of maintaining the machines, extra work is obviously, as it says, extra work for elections, which the past 2 years has actually occurred. Standard expenses for the office, the primaries set at 15,000 and the election is set at 15,000. Those can vary. If there's no primary, those funds won't be used.
And then where do the funds that aren't used, where do they go?
Anything unused in the fund balance at the end of the year rolls into the fund balance.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
You got it.
Can I have one more question if I can? I'm just curious, it's about 300 and some odd dollar difference less than what they were actually getting. I mean.
That is directly related to the department request, and that Mrs. Pitney would actually be able to explain that even a little bit better than I could.
I cut back on the ROVAC. That's our Registrar of Voters Association, and I cut back on that because we haven't been having that many meetings and everything. So I cut back on the cost.
Thank you very much, Louise.
No problem.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have one. Was there something, Louise, that was in question that the state was going to pay for?
Yes, it was Michael's. Oh no, the question the state was going to pay for was going to be for the election day. The early voting, but that's still up in the legislature. No decisions have been made. We had a conference call today with the Secretary of State. They still have not made any decisions.
So should we, I mean, what happens if we have to do it? I mean, do we need to put something?
Well, at one point in the meeting, she said, at one point in the meeting, she did state that the state would possibly pick up the charges, but then the state would have to pay for the workers and then the state would reimburse. But everything's up in the air, Jen. There's no decision, so it isn't even really in this budget.
Okay.
It won't take place until probably the presidential in 24.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Was there an opposed? Or no?
Oh, no, no.
All in favor? Okay, so.
I have a question. If I just say nay, that's no, right? Can I just say nay, or should I not say anything? This is Isa Simmons,
Yeah.
Derby. Just say nothing?
Excuse
Yeah,
me.
just say nothing.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I got a little cough there.
Doesn't she have to say something? Otherwise, we have to do a roll call on it?
No, there was nobody that said nothing, or there was no negatives, so everybody's voted for it.
Saying nay.
Isa, you were voting, did you vote against that last register of voters one?
No, I did not. I just misspoke. That's why I was making a clarification, so it doesn't happen again.
Okay,
Excuse
no
me.
problem.
Thank
Well,
you.
she's for it then. Thank you.
I'm just trying to write everything down.
Ah. Sorry about that. I'm in a little coughing fit. All right, legal services, $251,500. Can I have a motion, please?
Roberto.
Can I have a second?
Ramini Patel.
Excellent. Any discussion on that?
Yeah, I just got one question with respect to the corporate counsel and the legal services that the taxpayer are paying for is for assisting the administration. Is there any funding for legal counsel to represent the people on who elected us to represent them in case we need legal counsel?
I would defer that to Walter.
As I understand it, and Mr. Marini, I believe, is on the call, those are the fees that are charged to the city to do the work of the city. As far as rulings or opinions, drafting ordinances and so forth and so on.
What I'm actually asking, is it possible that we can provide him or ask him questions that can help the boards, whether it's the older people or the tax board?
Yes, you can ask for a ruling on any issue and he will provide it. That's part of the services that are covered under those fees.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, clearly he's for the mayor, he's not for the taxpayers. So I think there should be some kind of provision in here that if the alderman or the boat needs to get their own attorney for our opinions, we need to have something in there that protects the city, not the mayor.
Geez, what brings you to that conclusion?
You actually have to ask that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, mercy, Miss Percy.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none. So all in favor for the legal services?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. IT, please lower that down, Mark, please. IT, 109,000. Can I get a motion?
Chris,
Chris, can I have a second?
Isa Simmons.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions?
I'm sorry, who was that seconded it?
Isa Simmons, Derby.
Thank you.
Hearing none, all in favor? Excuse me.
Oh, boy, I can't hear.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Human resources. What's the total on that? 2,000, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. Human resources, 2,000. Can I have a motion?
I make the motion, Roberto.
Have a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion?
Who was that, Jen?
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry, I can't recognize the voices.
Sorry.
Yeah, if you could just say your name when you do it, that'll make it easier for Louise.
And also, Louise, you can look at the screen. The name who's speaking should come up on the screen.
Okay, I'm looking at the
We're
pad
trying
as
to
I
get
write. I'm
Rose
sorry.
in too. Rose is trying to get in.
Well, I don't see anybody in the way.
Rose
Hang on, I think
Pertosa?
she- Yeah, I think they're having trouble with the number, so
I don't see anybody in the waiting room.
No, I mean, she's trying to get in, like, we got to get her a number, so hang on, I'm just looking for,
Sure, but you have a motion on the floor, right?
Yeah,
That-
right.
that's-
All right, so all in favor?
No, we didn't. We got a second from who?
I see.
Jen,
Or Jen, I mean, I'm sorry, Jen.
Jen,
We're gonna discuss.
Yep, any discussion?
Yeah. Can you explain again, what is your plan for the human resource on the whole hours of work and the position, please?
Go ahead. Is that one of the questions Nancy got there?
Actually, that's a Walter question.
Okay.
It would be 35 hours per week, Roberto, just like any other department head that follows the city hall hours.
Okay. Now, is this the one that was not approved by the Board of Aldermen and we received a legal counsel interpretation of it?
The person that is in the position is the same person who was the part-time person before, yes.
Okay.
She's a
quick
30-year
que-
veteran of HR.
Oh, quick question. How come it's only $2,000?
The board voted in the preliminary budget to transfer the salary of 89,000 to the special working balance.
So shouldn't the whole thing be on this and we vote on the whole 91, I guess, if it's 89 plus 2?
That's the board's privilege at this point. You can restore the salary back and vote on the whole thing. This position was recommended as a full-time position by the Municipal Financial Advisory Commission in order to relieve the pressure that is on the finance department when it comes to dealing with human resource issues. It happens on a very regular basis.
well, it looks like we'll be voting on it when it hits the special working balance, so the 2,000 here should be fine.
Right, that's the office supplies and advertising.
The question that Mr. Carloni asked was, could the or should the motion be for the full 91,000? You do have the ability to do that. You would just simply make the adjustment when you got down to the special working balance to do that $89,000 less if you chose to put it here and approve it.
No, I'm suggesting that we leave it as it is and then we'll put it in a salary, not in a line item, but in the working balance.
Yes.
You recall last week when we went through this?
Yep.
We had the discussion that there was still some misunderstanding of whether this needed to go to the Board of Aldermen, Alderwomen. So we decided to put that salary in a special working balance until all that could get sorted out, knowing that if it does come to fruition, that's what that money is for.
And it's already earmarked for that.
Exactly.
I understand now. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Why?
Any opposed? So carried. Economic development, 89,500. Can I get a motion to accept, please?
Roberto?
Thank you. Can I get a second, please?
Jennifer,
Thank you. Any
I have a question on that, Mr. Mayor,
go ahead.
regarding $1,000 increase for 390 departmental operations.
The Director of Economic Development asked to have that moved out to car allowance in his original budget. It was transferred back down because we don't do car allowance for that department. So the additional monies were put back down the lower line item. He's still under his request by $500.
Okay, so I see we moved it because of is that a city policy regarding car allowance?
It's in the contracts that the people signed. There was no car allowance in his contract, so we don't issue car allowance.
Okay.
So we,
The increase would be to cover his operations of to and from.
no, actually, departmental operations would be conducting business in the operation, not his motor vehicle.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
so he requested 3,000 and we're giving him 4,000.
If you look at if you look at the original request for the, we actually
Right there, 3,000.
we actually set it up as $1,000 for office supplies. Department operationals for 23 were 4,000. So he's basically getting $500 less in office supplies and the same as he got in 2023 for his operational expenses.
All right, so you're just really adding the two lines together that are actually broken out here.
No, I'm saying that the original budget in 2023 was $1,000 for office supplies and departmental operational supplies was 4,000. We gave him his 4,000 again this year, which you guys agreed to, and we cut his office supplies by 500. So he reduced his budget by $500. We didn't give him anything extra from prior year.
I didn't say you gave him anything extra. I just asked the question.
I'm answering your question.
So 5,000 minus 4,500 is your 500, is what I'm saying. Okay,
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. All right, treasurers. 57,000. Can I have a motion to accept?
Aye.
Roberto, do I have a second? Oh, excuse me. Do I have a second for treasurer, please? Office.
Second, Chris.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Insurance. Bring it down a little, Mark, please. Insurance, 410,000. Can I have a motion, please?
Aye, Roberto.
Can I have a second?
Second, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one regarding the 270-0001, the liability. And from previous actual was $180,000 less on the liability.
Excuse me, the report that's on the screen is not giving me the line items, and as much as I'd like to say I remember all of them, can you please do it by description?
The liability.
Thank you. And your question was the reduction?
Yeah, it's $180,000 less, a ballpark
Because-
figure.
Because we actually negotiate contracts for renewal, and that's what the rate came in at on the renewal for this coming fiscal year.
Really?
Good
Why
job,
didn't
Jen, I
we
say.
see that?
Pardon me?
Why didn't we see any of that?
It's right
I mean,
there.
nothing has gone down. I mean, what were the insurance claims paid out? You're supposed to be answering these questions too as we're going.
Okay, the liability insurance goes down based on experience. Maybe we had a better experience rating last year. However, I don't know any city that actually renegotiates some contracts with their boat while we're with the insurance brokers. We give you the
I'm
information once we
asking, I'm
receive
not
it.
asking, I'm asking you to what the quote was.
That
We
was the
didn't
quote.
see it.
That is the
We didn't
quote.
see it, But we
That
didn't
is
see
the
it.
quote.
We're
And we
going
skip-
by what you say.
Jen,
I'm
please.
going by what they gave me as a number, as an anticipated liability insurance on our renewal.
And they went to Kerma from Travelers and they were cheaper. So
So,
I did a great job negotiating a different contract with a different company.
so
thank
what's the amount of insurance claims paid out this year and what do we expect to pay?
I do not have that information on hand because that is not a self-insured policy. I can get that information for you, put a written request in and email it to me.
Well, that, you had that yesterday.
What?
I know by putting, I mean, you say email you, but everything goes out to the wind. You don't do anything.
Jennifer, I
Excuse me,
apologize.
Jennifer.
I apologize, but you know what? I have a job to do 7 hours a day plus, and I answered all of your questions and did your research. You posed a new question tonight. I'll get back to it tomorrow.
Amazing. Didn't we have
Amazing. You're
this
amazing.
insurance company last year?
No,
We
had
did not.
Travelers. We had Travelers. And then we switched to Kerma with the pool, with the other cities and towns that utilize it, and they gave us a better rate. And that's why we switched to them. Same coverage. And it was cheaper.
And you have
Where's
no idea what was paid out in insurance.
I can request that information from the broker and forward it to you, but I still need to email them during business hours, which will be
Well,
tomorrow.
If we're self-insured, don't we pay?
We are not self-insured.
100,000?
We are not self-insured with our liability, cyber insurance or the fireman's insurance.
Take the edge off the attitude, Nance. I'm asking a
Listen,
question
Jen,
because I want to
Jen,
find
you can-
out the answer.
Jen, please calm down a little bit too, Jen, okay? We're trying to work together to get this budget done.
Right, we're
So the
trying.
sarcasm
so
is
there's
going
no
both,
need for
sarcasm's going both ways,
sarcasm.
Jen, so please, okay?
Mayor,
We're trying to
Mayor,
get through this.
Mayor,
So,
Mayor,
go ahead.
may I think we might want to we've had Kerma since last July 1st.
Right.
So this budget is for next July 1st. So I just want to make sure.
We did not have them on the liability.
We picked them up, we picked them back up we switched from Travelers to Kerma. And then this is the new rate that they gave us going forward.
But
So we
we've been,
did very well, yes,
we've been submitting claims to Kerma since last July 1st.
right. When we switched over from Travelers to this one, correct. And now this was the renewal price on it. So like we said, we did very well in negotiating with them.
And once again, I will contact them tomorrow and get a list of the claims that were paid out last fiscal year and current fiscal year to date. That is not information I have access to immediately. But I
Thank you,
can
Nancy.
put
So
them on
we
that.
also, can you also ask them, are we in jeopardy of, our reserves being exhausted? We don't know how much went out.
Jen, we are fully paid policy on our liability. There are no reserves. The policy is covered just as if you had your own personal auto policy. We are covered by the premium. We are not self-insured on our liability insurance.
You understand that, Nance? Or I'm sorry, Jennifer?
Yep, I got it now.
Okay. So I don't want you going away not understanding this. I want to make sure it's clear for everybody, even for the
Keep
public.
getting so many different stories, it's hard to, but I'm getting it.
What stories? Liability is different than, you're probably thinking workers' comp or something.
That's, yeah, I'm thinking the other type of insurance.
There you
'Cause
go.
I looked
So,
over and I saw auto deductible in that,
yeah.
and it's, I guess, so we have no deductibles? So that was my mistake. I'm thinking medical. I'm not
Jennifer,
thinking-
in respects to the deductibles, you are correct. We cover our own deductible, just like you would with your own auto policy. But we are not self-insured per se.
Okay, no, I understand that now. I was completely wrong in what I was thinking.
No problem. Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? So carried, thank you. Retirement. $1,931. I'm sorry, $1,931,500. Do I have a motion?
Chris,
Motion, Albert.
Chris, and then second by Alberta. Any discussion on this? I know that was one of the questions.
Yep, how much, the pension fund? I think that was Karen's question. She's been asking that one.
The pension fund is the pension portion of the city pension is funded based on the actuary reports. We are currently funded at 81.1%, which puts us up in the top 5% of the state, which puts us in a really good rating for our bonds. We are actually above average. And we are funding based on the actuary reports.
So have they submitted a statement saying what we need to make the plan fully funded? That was one of the questions.
Part of the actuary report and their recommended funding is a 9-year or 5 to 9 year progression to completely fund the program, which means between 5 and 10 years from now, it will be 100% funded. That's based on their amortization tables. Again, that's the actuary report, and I do not make those decisions. I just follow their guidelines. I mean, by all means, if you want to put more money into the pension fund and fund it earlier, you can, but you have to charge taxpayers more tax to do so.
Nancy, if you don't mind answering a question for
Sure.
me regarding the city pension expenses from the actual 12,500 to 15,000. Why is that number a little higher than 12,500?
Additional evaluations, OPED reports, which is other pension expenses that actually fell into this year because they were missed and not paid prior years. I saw a lot of it this year. We're keeping a track on that, knowing exactly where they're going forward. So that number, that the actual cost will probably go back to where it was last year. Of course, with inflation, maybe that number will change, but those are based on the numbers that are provided for the invoices to do our actuary report.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Employee benefits. Employee benefits, 24, okay, $8,041,900. Can I have a motion to accept, please?
Roberto,
Roberto, do I have a second?
Patel.
Ms. Patel, thank you. Any discussion?
yeah, I have a question on the health insurance. Was the city appropriations 270,0270? It's just one, I did my numbers and it was $1.2 million less. I just want to see why is it that we went less on that insurance for city appropriations.
The numbers that represent the actual claims that are presented here are from our brokers and the insurance companies on what our trend is. This is the area where Jen was right. We are self-insured. None of these set numbers are set in concrete. If we have a major illness on an employee, it could blow everything out of the water. If we have an incredibly healthy year, it will bring us way under budget. These are based on the market trends and the health trends currently and broker recommendations. I can't give a firm number on that because I don't know if I have 4 people having a heart attack and 2 having twins in the hospital, or if everybody's going to be, oh my God, we're healthy all year long. So that's a very fluid number.
I think
Roberto,
too,
if you remember the discussion last year, it was the original projection of the insurance company that we were going to experience high claims based upon the historical and the actuarial data. We adopted those numbers and made a provision to take money out of the fund balance if necessary. But we also felt that it was likely that those high numbers and projections wouldn't materialize because they reflected an increase in healthcare due to COVID. A lot of people were not using their medical during COVID. They couldn't get into hospitals and so forth. And so a lot of that was a repressed healthcare surge, if you will. As it turns out, it appears that that was correct. And so our claims this year are running about where we expected without having to use any of the fund balance money. And as a result, when the insurance company did the historical review and had their actuarials run the numbers, this is the number they came up with. So that's a long way of saying that's why it's so much less.
yeah, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, that I hear you the right way. The brokers gave you the evaluation of those potentials that we had previously, and it was less than what was actually used in previous years.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Any
And
other?
I have another question regarding the Health Insurance Board of Education appropriations. And I'm just, is that the same thing regarding the $600,000 less, a ballpark figure?
Exactly the same.
Okay. And the same thing with the workers' comp?
Workers' comp is based on what we have for IBNRs, which is incurred but not paid. Again, the brokers and the insurance companies have claims that are held out that we have to pay, and it's a history of how we have performed. And the numbers come from them. We do have certain claims out there that are incurred but not paid. They'll be paid over time. They're not going to be paid out next year. They're not going to be pay out tomorrow. So the numbers have to be generated by their actuary reports on how we're going to, or where we stand with that.
We're just hoping nobody gets a workman's comp claims too much.
I agree.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, is it possible, Nancy, to send us the renewal letters from the health and liability providers? So that we
Absolutely. I
verify that?
I can get copies of that and send them to you. However, they are not to be released to the public because that is not FOI required information. So you guys can have it. It shouldn't be, there's certain information that should not go out, but absolutely.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, wait a minute, I got one more thing I didn't get. Do we have stop loss insurance? I'm sorry, I forgot one. That was on our
Jennifer?
list of questions.
Jennifer, I'm going to be actually kind of mean right now. Every month I give you budget reports, and every month on there is a section in there for benefits. And every month there is a report on the stop loss payments. So just read the
So you're
reports I
saying
give
we
you.
do have stop loss insurance? You're
Yes.
saying
Yes.
we do have it?
Yes, we do.
There are 2 stop loss premiums, 2800-280 for the Board of Ed and for the city. A quick question regarding that, actually. Do we know what the stop limits are on the insurance? Is it 150,000?
No. One, we had different companies going back. One was at $500,000 and another one was a little higher than that. I'd have to get the brokers to actually,
I know back 20 years ago when I was with Waterbury, it was as high as $1 million.
right. One, there are 2 different numbers, Mike. One I think we have now is 400,000 because the last workers' comp meetings we've been going through, that one rings a bell. I mean, don't quote me on that. We can get you the exact quotes on it, but there are two separate stop loss because different insurance companies are, we're carrying it. So-
Right.
All right, thanks.
So Nance, if we can just get those, have PMA get those numbers and we can,
Absolutely.
thank you. Any other, okay, so did we, employee benefits? So that one passed, right? We just went back because you had a question.
Yes.
Right, Louise?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, finance department, 344,480. Do I have a motion?
Roberto,
Motion,
And
second, Albert.
second, Albert. Roberto and then Alberta. Any discussion on this?
yeah, I do. On financial services, 150,152. What is the $10,000 for?
In the past 2 years prior to my being in the office, you had $32,000 and $22,000 in bank fees, which is your financial services, were lumped into the payroll outsource fees.
Okay, that's
Those are
outsourced.
the fees of the cost of doing business with the banks that we do business with. We do compensating balances. We do not earn interest. But when we use their services above and beyond what we can provide in a balance, they bill us. And as I said, the last 2 years were $29,000 and $34,000. So I put 10,000 in there as a conservative number, but my last year with you guys, we ended our compensating balances for for calendar year ending 2020 at 17 cents. Hopefully I can do the same again this year.
Okay, thank you.
Good job on that, Nance, saving money.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Payroll taxes, 475,000. Have a motion?
Roberto,
Have a second?
Chris,
Any discussion? All in
Yes.
favor? Go ahead.
Since we have this, Jennifer, seeing as we don't have a tax collector yet, should we put that 75,000 into the special working balance?
we're not there yet, Jen.
This is payroll taxes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
looking at the bottom of the screen instead of the top of the screen.
No problem.
Looking at so many numbers here, my brain's falling apart.
All right, so any other discussion on the payroll taxes, social security and unemployment compensation? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Grants, grant writer, 20,000. Can I have a motion to accept?
Somebody did it by phone.
You went too far, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah, 20,000 for grant writer. Any, can I have a motion, please?
Jennifer, I motion.
Can I have a second?
Roberto,
Any discussion?
That, who was that? I'm sorry.
Roberto,
Roberto.
second.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Tax collector, tax office, 132,560. Can I have a motion?
Roberto, motion.
Second,
Patel.
Tell, second. Any discussion? Jennifer?
Okay, the tax collector's wages, should we put that in the special working balance for
It's
now?
an approved, it's an
Jennifer?
approved position, so.
Jennifer, it is an approved position and we're actively seeking a tax collector, which we have a shortage of in Connecticut. So no, it's not a special working balance. It is an active position that if we hire, we don't need to transfer money in from the boat. It's approved.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Slide it down, Mark, please. Assessor, 183,433. I have a motion to accept, please.
Aye, Roberto.
I have a second.
Second, Alberta.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Auxiliary police. 17,605. I have a motion to accept.
Chris,
I have a second.
Alberta.
Alberta. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Police Department. Right there, 4,204,502. Can I have a motion to accept?
Chris,
I have a second.
Jennifer, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
aye,
Yes.
Any opposed? So carried. Thank you. Fire Department. Can you lower that, please? Fire Department, 347,509. Have a motion to accept.
Roberto.
Have a
Motion.
second.
Jennifer,
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Any what I,
Any opposed? So carried. Thank you. Next one. Next one, Mark. Thank you. OEM, 12,200. Do you have a motion?
aye, Roberto.
Have a second? Can I get a second, please?
Aye.
Mike Gray, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye,
Any opposed? So carried. Fire Marshal's Office, 118,300. Can I get a motion to accept?
motion, Roberto.
Chris,
Have a second?
second, Chris.
Chris, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye,
Any opposed? So carried. Public hydrants, 280,828. Have a motion to accept?
My dog accepts, Roberto.
I'll second it.
Who's the second?
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Second, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Mr. Mayor, every time you yawn, I yawn, so stop.
Sorry, Louise. All in favor?
One of us.
aye,
Any opposed? So carried. Miscellaneous capital, 243,999. Have a motion to accept?
Roberto.
Have a second?
Second, Jennifer.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question on that, general capital, 440, 446, 0446. There's a ballpark figure, Nancy, of about 140,000 less on general capital.
The reason why the general capital went down is because leases were completed and paid off. And because we have not had a meeting of the capital committee to authorize capital expenditures, I can't put it in the budget. I can't increase things that have not been approved by the committee that has to meet. So I can't render these expenditures for the most part represent leases and other expenditures that have already been previously approved by capital.
And
So once they approve stuff, I can turn around and put that in the budget. They have not met, nor have they had a quorum to approve things. I know there's been talk about using ARPA funds to fund some of the things, and we're working with lease companies to work out options as to like fire trucks and police cars. But I have to get approval from the committee to actually address those issues.
And how many members are in the general capital committee?
Mayor?
How many do we have? The last one, because we didn't get a quorum on that last one. I don't have the list in front of me though.
When was the last meeting they had?
What was that? I'm sorry.
When was the last meeting they had? General capital committee.
The records I show were over almost a year ago to approve. And plus all this stuff also leads up to LoCIP for reimbursement from the state. So they have to meet for me to actually do all that stuff. But there has been talk about addressing some of the issues through capital, through ARPA and other things, but that has to also go through the Board of Aldermen for approval. So, you know, there's money out there, but we have to get people to meet on that and find out what we're spending it. I can't just randomly say, yep, you can have that.
Right.
I mean, if I had $2.1 million, I'd actually give it to the fire department and the police department to just turn around, buy vehicles.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, you're the chair of the capital planning, correct? The general capital committee?
And we're shooting for next month to hopefully get a quorum on to go through. The last one we did, we ended up going through a lot, but like I said, we didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't vote on anything.
Right.
So we're shooting for this month coming up in May. Hopefully we can get the bodies on there. It's tough, just like this board. It's been tough. We missed a lot of people and stuff. So
I will add one thing. There is a way to actually address capital on an annual basis, and we've been approaching the aldermen to do a non-lapsing fund for capital, which would fund ongoing capital, but that hasn't passed through the aldermen. And so I can't put money aside for reserve capital outside the general fund.
Right, right.
You know, my hands are kind of held by both boards.
Yeah, what do you think you need, Mr. Mayor, to make it happen? Getting a quorum or anything that the board can do?
We are gonna, well, hopefully, like we're gonna put out the meeting. I want to put it up for probably this next month. We want to get one going up, so we'll put it out there. Hopefully everybody's gonna show up. You know, I know it's getting close to summertime coming in, so hopefully we'll get the bodies there.
And if we get the general capital committee going, and there potentially seems to be some funds that can be in the general capital, where would we pull that? Because we only got 64,726.
Well, with the ARPA, because we got to utilize those ARPA funds before we have to give them back. You know, ARPA has over 2 million on it, and a lot of projects that we're looking at doing fall underneath the umbrella on that. So it's money given to us. We got to use it before we lose it. So
again, it's also negotiating leases for this capital equipment. And if we can get really good leases on that, we can actually get more bang for our buck.
So that's where you're getting your numbers from, is based on leasing contracts to potentially help on the general capital.
correct. And we're looking for more lease to go back to leasing. Like Nancy said, a lot of the leases were paid off already. Looking to go back onto that for vehicles and what are the other things that
fire truck.
Fire truck, yeah.
Love to do that.
Okay.
Quick question regarding the leasing. Would you be using ARPA money to begin those leases?
Only if those leases fall under the ability for me to use ARPA funds. Fire truck would absolutely fall under that. There are very strict guidelines as to what I can use that money for. And I have to abide by their rules. Otherwise it kicks back and it goes back into the city's.
Absolutely. I would just caution everyone that if we're going to do that, you might create a fiscal cliff where once the ARPA funds run out, now this has to become part of the operating budget and you're in that lease.
Once the ARPA funds are obligated, there's an extension past that point. If we have to prepay the lease on that, not a big deal. I'd like to extend it as long as I can. Usually I get 1 to 2 years after the funding to close it out, which would give me a 3-year line. So it works.
Right, but if you're leasing a fire truck, let's say for $300,000, that's probably 10, 12 years worth of a lease. I don't know that you're going to be funding through ARPA for that whole lease, would you?
Not necessarily, but at that point in time, we know the cost and we can incorporate that into our budget for the additional cost above and beyond what ARPA would cover. But we're talking about being able to anticipate future budgets.
Right, so that's the point I was trying to make, is that
Yeah,
down the road,
absolutely.
we would have to fund this if it, isn't covered by.
I totally do not agree with funding unfunded liabilities. So no, if we turn around and do a lease through ARPA, we need to know that we're going to have to fund that in the future going forward.
Exactly. It goes with any positions that get hired
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely.
Good question. Any other questions?
Yeah, what about, I mean, we need all the security stuff at the schools and the mold remediation and all that. That can't go through ARPA. My thought is we need to fund that back to our 200,000 and have it there if we need it.
I'm sorry,
do?
Jennifer, I'm sorry. What are you referring to?
The capital.
No, what project are you referring to that I'm not aware of?
I'm saying that we have to look ahead of what we could need. We need security cameras at the school. There was a lot of discussion about that stuff.
The Board of Ed has a grant writer that should actually be looking into those, that possibility of getting that covered. There is a lot of money out there. And yes, maybe the city should have to fund it, but I think we should reach out to the federal government, to the grants that are available for the security in the Board of Ed, use their grant writer to actually gain those funds. If we have to subsidize them and put 20% up forward, that's fine, but they really need to reach out for those grants.
Right, but my point is, if we don't have, we've been steadily going at 200,000. If we leave it at the 64, where's the 20% going to come from if we've got that earmarked the 64 already?
Again, I will tell you, the budget represents actual numbers that are required to be paid during the fiscal year 2023-24. There has nothing additional been approved. Until the committee meets, I cannot increase those numbers and say arbitrarily, we're going to have another $200,000 in any line item. They have to approve it. I cannot put things in the budget that are not approved by the capital committee.
That's not true.
Okay, yeah, can we still?
In this line item.
200,000, can't we still fund the 200,000 because it's been in there in the past?
But what's the purpose behind putting 200,000 there? What are you using it for?
Okay, well, they haven't met in over a year, and when they do, they're going to want to meet and discuss buying things and stuff like that. So we have the money in there already.
I have never actually reserved money for things that we anticipate we're going to approve during the year that haven't been accepted. Usually my capital fund projects are done a year in advance. So if you guys choose to do something different than what I'm used to doing, that's your call. You're the boat. You're in charge.
Capital plan is always put in the budget and then the committee takes action after they've got the money there.
The committee meets before.
Well, if you look at our past practice here, the money goes in and then the committee takes their action on what they're going to do. So I'm with Chris. I think we should fund it at the 200,000.
Walter, my question to you, you've been around for many years in the city. Can you put some input on this? Because as far as I'm concerned, capital projects go in because the Capital Commission has designated them and approved them. I mean, and if they haven't approved anything, how could I budget for it?
You have approximately $2.5 million in unallocated ARPA funds sitting out there. The reasonable approach is to use your ARPA money before it evaporates. And you can worry about subsequent capital funding as you have the capital planning commission make recommendations. For example, like Mike was saying, you might choose to buy a fire truck and the payment on that is $300,000 a year. This year, you would pay it with the ARPA funds. Subsequent years, you would build that into the budget in order to move forward with those purchases. That's the most responsible way to move forward with this, considering that we have all that money sitting there waiting to be spent and the time is quickly evaporating to spend it.
But there's also, as Nancy said, strict guidelines on how you could spend it. So
All of the
what do we do in
guidelines
that case?
regarding ARPA are vetted through the NBCOG before we even attempt to do that. One of the areas that is explicitly allowed is health and safety. So you'll have no problem with fire trucks. That's why we had no problem with the ambulance. That's why we had no problem with the police cars. There is, some people say it's strict, but honestly, the avenues for spending that money are pretty wide. Some cities and municipalities have actually used it to cut taxes.
Well, I'm just a little uncomfortable about if something pops up and we don't have it. I would rather it be there to fall back on. If we don't use it, it just rolls back into the fund balance anyway. The capital plan has always been approved after they knew the amount of money they had to spend historically. So I motion we move it back up to 200,000.
Can there be a motion to fund that back up to the general capital to 200,000?
So you want to raise that up? Okay.
The motion would be to add $135,274 to that line item to make it 200,000. Believe that would be the motion.
Yes. I don't know.
I'll make that motion.
I second it, Jennifer.
Nance, what's that going to be an impact for the tax rate? Do you know, if they raise that up to 200?
I'm sitting at my house, not my office. I do not have my calculator. I can give you that percentage later, but bottom line is, yes, it will be an increase, not substantially. But again, there's nothing approved for it. Why would you put it aside?
And you're, all right, so we're taxing for it to leave it in there. And like Jen said, if we need, we use it. If we don't, we don't. So
yeah, but you're still gonna have to increase the taxpayers. Right now, the bottom line budget is where it is at the mill rate that you recommended. Any increase in expenditures will in fact increase your tax rate. It may bring it back to current. It may go a little bit above. Again, as a citizen of another town, I would not want my town putting in something that wasn't expected to be expended when there were other reserves put in place. That's your call. It's not my town.
But there's also 2.5 million sitting in ARPA funds that.
Exactly, which can be used for most of this capital. And like, I forget the gentleman, is it Mike?
Mike,
That
yeah.
brought up the fact that we can start the funds with ARPA and plan in next year's budget to fund ongoing expenditures that relate to those leases. And that goes police cars, fire trucks, turnout gear, any maintenance for any of the healthcare issues and safety. I can hit the ARPA funds up for with no issue, no question, and get the first year funded, maybe even the second year funded, and go into the third year to anticipate to adjust the budget. My process with this is keep our tax dollars down. Don't burden the taxpayers if we don't have to.
So Jen, so you want to tax it?
There's a 0.4 decrease. That
You want
won't.
to tax them just to have the money there in case we need it, right?
I want an honest budget. I don't want it to come back later on and then we have a problem.
Jen, right now at this point in time, I do not have capital funds in place, leased or otherwise signed off on to approve to pay for next year's budget. So right now, this is an honest portrayal of what I have in capital outstanding pending. As a matter of fact, 2 of the line items here will clear off next year as well, reducing that 243 down because the leases will have been paid off.
But this is for next year.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. At the end of next year, 2 of the leases will have been paid off. So this number will go down again unless you approve in the commission to apply money to the capital funds. So the number is legit. Unless you buy something. And
Well, but
what
that's
if-
it. What if something pops up? I
And if
mean,
we have to buy something, we negotiate a lease, put the down payment through ARPA, and use the best of our ability to get the best lease we can to minimize the impact in this year, which would be easy because we can pay it out of ARPA for the first year and anticipate future year expenditures. I mean, it's your call. You guys are the boat, not me.
there's a motion on the floor and I second it.
So
So,
Jen,
I
so
mean,
you want to tax the taxpayers?
why are we
leave the money in
negotiating
there.
this?
I'm
mean,
trying to get your rationale on this. So you want to tax the
told you my
taxpayers?
rationale. What happens if something comes up? I mean, we've
Jennifer?
always funded it at $200,000. Now.
All right, once again, we
something
have
comes up that we can't
$2.5
use
million
ARPA funds
in the
for.
ARPA funds, Jen. If
Now,
something
what if
urgent-
we can? Nancy said they're strict. You're saying they're
Oh
not.
my God, Jen, they
How-
said they relaxed a lot of it for emergency services. That's how we got the ambulance for $380,000. I mean, you're listening to parts of this. You got to listen to the
No,
whole thing.
I'm listening to, I got 2 different stories. You're saying they're relaxing, they're no big
They
deal.
did, and that's what they
Nancy's
told me.
saying that they're very strict.
They
For the
are,
ambulance-
Believe.
they
Is there
are
a-
strict.
I do apologize, just to make this sweet and short. Louise, there's a motion. If anybody want to do a roll call?
Well, hang on. I just want her to be, to get it right. So she wants to raise this, put something in there just in case, and you want to tax the taxpayers more. That's what you want to do, Jen, correct?
That's the bottom line.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion
Mr. Mayor.
for 43,999,
Mayor.
but you want to add. to
Move the
this. Yes, Walt.
question, move the question.
Go ahead, Walt.
I thought that there was a motion and a second to approve the amount recommended, which led to the discussion.
Correct.
If that's the case, and the recording secretary can validate that, that motion needs to be dispensed with in order to move on to any other motions. And if it passes, then there are no other motions.
Okay, so,
You could amend the
The
amount.
motion.
There, according to Robert's rules, you can amend the amount.
okay,
I
so,
assume that's what Mr. Carlone's motion was, to amend the amount.
And I
Yes.
seconded
all
it.
right, who made, Jen, all right, so,
I made the
Chris,
motion.
okay.
And I
Chris
seconded it.
made the motion, Jen seconded it. Now, do
Okay,
you
so
want to
what-
do a
what's-
roll call?
Well, how much is it going up to? What's the exact number, please?
I'll give-
Well, no, we haven't gone through the rest of the budget yet.
You said you want to put 200,000 in this line item.
If we
Right.
want to get to $200,000, it needs to
I
be,
believe $135,274, I
Correct,
believe.
correct.
Yes, that's the amount.
Okay, so add that, Mark, please.
Well, if you
Well,
vote it, I'm not gonna add it until you,
That's
Add
actually,
it till you get it
that's fine.
approved.
Okay, so all in favor to push that line item up, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed?
I only heard,
All right, do a roll,
want to do a roll?
do a
only
roll
heard
call,
two
please.
people.
Yeah,
A
do a roll.
roll call. Now, what's the
Mr.
motion? for
Alberta?
what?
Yeah, what's the decision here? Go ahead.
So they want to raise it up to $200,000.
The motion is to amend the dollar amount from $64,726 to $200,000, amending that amount by $135,274.
Okay.
Mr. Alberta,
No.
Mr. Carloni,
Yes.
Mr. Roche,
Yes.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Nancy Wright's not here, Ms. Orzetti,
I have to recuse myself for a lack of understanding. I apologize.
Ms. Orzetti recuses, Ms. Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Ms. Simmons Derby,
I'm gonna step back because I don't really understand that much.
are you recusing?
Yes, I'm gonna accuse myself.
Okay, we have 5 in favor of changing the amount, 1 rejection, and 2 recusing. No vote.
So
We
I
don't have
suggest
a majority.
if we can table this until we can get a conclusion. And Mr. Mayor, I think it'll be kind of you to seek what is the, I think it may be up to 0.4, brings it up like a 0.4 on the mill rate.
Mr. Mayor and Mr. Chair, just a point of order. That motion was to amend. You still have the main motion on the floor, which was to adopt the 243,999.
Correct.
Correct.
So you could pass, I guess, if that's what you're saying, but just to make sure everybody's clear. There was a motion to amend, that failed, so now you still have the main motion. You can pass on that and go to the other stuff at the end, but that's up to you.
Well, let's pass on that for now.
All right, Mark, we'll go
Should we
back to that.
pass on it?
All right, so we just make a note that we have to go back to that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, wait a minute. You're passing on this and we'll go back.
Back to capital.
I'm here.
Run out of paper. Go
All right,
ahead.
Highway Department, $1,795,015. Can I have a motion to accept?
Aye, Roberto.
Can I have a second?
Jennifer, second.
Any discussion on Highway Department? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. City electricity, $424,650. Have a motion? Motion on city electricity. Chris, is that you?
Yes.
All right, can I have a second? Anybody?
Got Roberto second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Sanitation. Slide that up, please. Thank you. $1,337,191. Can I have a motion?
Roberto.
Have a
Motion.
second?
I second motion. Holly Orsetti.
Thank you, Holly. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions on your refuse collection, 270, 0272,
Yes.
and we have 330, 0335. We have an expiration date on their contracts on
Yes, so they're
6/30.
coming up. We're putting those out for RFP. We're talking to several of the companies that are interested in it. Very comfortable with the numbers that are coming back. It's a very desirable contract for the city.
Yeah, I don't have my calculator with me. That increased it by the refuse collection. Was that another 30?
For the last contract, it went up.
Yeah.
It was a 3-year contract, so there was incremental increases. And this is for contract.
Have you had any bids yet come in?
Not yet. We're putting that out next month in May. We're putting our getting ready to put that out, but we're getting some good responses already. So that I've been talking to.
Good. Thank you.
Yep.
So that has to go out to bid, correct?
Correct. Yep, it's going to be advertised, and then they'll be opening up the bid request.
Is there like a cushion in there for an increase that we should put in the special working balance, or?
This is it right now. This is for this contract that we're paying. We got the new one coming in. Yeah, I mean, once we get
next year.
Well, this is for this year. For the
2024, right? 23-24.
Right, and we're like I said, we're going out to bid on this, and we're comfortable with the numbers.
Well, it expires June 30th of this year.
Correct. That's what I said.
So you're saying you're comfortable with the numbers. It's gone out to bid already?
It's going out next month. We're finalizing the bid request, and it'll be going out to the companies.
How do you know the numbers?
Well, these are the old numbers from the old contract, and we're pretty confident on the bid, the contracts going out and the bids coming back.
But what if they come back? I mean,
If they come back a little higher, then we'll have to come back to you, but we're feeling pretty confident on the bids coming back.
It's kind of risky, isn't it?
The numbers presented in the budget actually represent a current increase relative to what the charges are in other towns on their current increases in their contracts. So I feel comfortable with the numbers that the mayor has presented to me. They do tend to match other towns that I've actually researched, and I do contact other public works directors and get that information as to where they are and what their increases are. Hopefully, the gas prices don't lock in and change everything, but it looks like a good number to me.
I mean, we're such a small town, and we may end up paying more because we're so small. You can't compare us to Shelton, where they would.
Why Shelton?
Any other place that's bigger than we are, you can't compare us to.
We can also
price they
piggyback.
would give them.
We can also turn around if the bids are unacceptable to us, we can piggyback other towns for their rates. So there are other options to maintain the budget prices for the bids that go out. We
Plus,
don't.
yeah, this is a lot of tonnage too, Jen. They go by weight and the volume of garbage coming in too.
Right. Well, that's why I'm thinking we're a small town. We're not, they're going to charge us more because it's kind of like a minimum rate type thing.
No, not necessarily. Like I said, we got the transfer station there with the recycling. I mean, we've done very well in negotiating with our providers. Very well. Any other discussion?
When will, I mean, we'll know when you actually take the bid, the vote
Yep.
will know what the final number is.
Yeah, soon as it comes in and then we open them up, it'll be public information. Everybody's gonna get to know.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's posted on the website.
It will be, yeah.
If it's more than that, you better get your pickup truck out and start going to pick up garbage.
Any other discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. What's next, Mark? Notation.
Parks and Rec.
Rec. All right, Parks and Recreation Community Center, 233,874. Can I have a motion to accept, please?
Roberto, motion.
Can I have a second?
Second, Chris.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Thank you. Parks and Rec, Ryan Complex, 67,530. Have a motion to accept?
I motion Holly Rossetti.
Roberto, second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Health Services. Health Services, 372,762. Do I have a motion to accept?
Roberto, make a motion.
Second?
Chris.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I have a question. Is there
Go
a
ahead, Jen.
reason that we're not funding the mental health and the rape crisis? I noticed it wasn't last year either. I was just wondering what the reason was.
No request was put forward to the finance office to fund that. Not that I'm aware of.
I didn't see anything come in.
So that's something that they come in and they request. It's not.
Each one of these departments submit a budget, a request, and financial information to support their requests for what they require us or are requesting us to fund. If they do not request it.
Yeah, nothing. I didn't see anything on this. It usually comes to the office and we send it over to,
I mean, I have copies of everything that was submitted from everybody else on here. I have had nothing requested by the rape victim or mental health. And I agree, I would love to fund them. But if they don't ask for a request, I can't turn around and just throw it in the budget.
And can you explain to me that mental health BD, what does that stand for? Board?
Mental health board. I have no clue because I haven't funded them. So I'm assuming that's the Mental Health Board of Connecticut, but I could be mistaken.
There were regional mental health boards in years gone by. I don't know if they still exist in the same format. I don't know the answer to it.
They may get funded through other agencies indirectly, which is why they're not actually approaching us.
Yeah, by my understanding, I don't know if the doc is on the call, there's also other services being provided, I know for the students, but not just in general.
yeah, I know. I saw nothing coming from that. Usually we get like from the Boy Scouts and everybody, and just nothing came through these two
Well,
departments.
Boy Scouts are under a different group.
No, I'm just saying that we get requests from all these different organizations and stuff like that. And I did not see anything from these two.
Okay.
Nor Griffin Hospital, as a matter of fact.
Mhm.
Wow.
Well, that used to be a charter provision that was a mandatory charter provision. And that when the last charter revision, it was changed for them and Derby Neck Library. So it's a optional thing. So
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? So carried. Library. $525,727. Have a motion?
Roberto, motion.
Have a second, please?
I second Holly Rossetti.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
I'm just curious to ask, on that grant, they didn't put out for any grants? Requests from the department?
That would be directed to Scott Brill, who's the director of the library. I only put in what he requested.
Do apologize, I can't see everybody's name. Is he on tonight or no?
I don't see him.
Okay.
That is one of the two contracts that's under negotiations, Roberto. And
Oh.
so the rate in there is for 0, and that amount has been included, an amount has been included in the special working balance.
Okay, thank you.
You know, I think there was confusion. You were talking about the salaries, right, Mr. Mayhew?
Yes,
Mr. Santos was talking about the grants line item. But I believe those grants that's just a line item set up so that if they get a grant, it's like a pass-through, it goes into that line, or that's the way it was done in the past.
Pretty much, yes, it is a pass-through, because if
Yeah,
the
that was
library
three-
gets grants, we move it forward.
Yes, 360 dash 0360. Okay, so if it didn't go through, they don't have anything now ongoing.
Correct.
The salaries were different.
yeah, and we will be changing that process to comply with one of the auditor's recommendations that they be set up with a separate fund.
The library in general or the grants?
The library checking and savings accounts. So the grants would process through there.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Cemetery, $600. Do you have a motion?
Chris,
Have a second?
Jennifer,
Any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
aye.
They should all be like that. Which one is this one, Mark? Building inspector, 159,799.
Roberto motion?
Time second.
Holly Rossetti, second.
Any discussion on this?
Yeah, I have a question myself regarding the part-time blight officers,
Yes.
120-0120. We currently only have one, right?
Right now we have one. Part-time blight, yes.
Just one, and I see we doubled the salary because it says officers. Is this for one or two?
That's a Walter question. I believe we're planning on increasing that.
Yeah, because we just have Jim Watson right now. Carmen's gonna be leaving soon. I'd like to get another body in there.
The blight hours for the inspectors was shifted over to Mr. Watson to cover the shortfall. So that's the reason for the increase.
So we're adding just that salary for that other blight officer?
It's just increasing the number of hours that he does the function for, Roberto. It's not adding another body.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And what are the amount of hours now?
I don't remember exactly. I think that comes out to be 20 hours a week, but I'd have to go back and check.
Oh, so they're actually doing less now?
What do you mean less now? No,
Less
he's
hours,
working
less
more
hours.
hours. He's working more hours.
Oh, he's working more hours, so we're gonna cut his
Right,
hours.
that's why it went up. His rate didn't change.
Didn't there used to be two there?
Carmen was doing it as well, but Carmen was being paid out of his stipend for being whatever his title was. He wasn't.
Economic
he wasn't double
liaison.
dipping. Yeah, he wasn't double dipping there. So we benefited by his generosity.
Are we gonna hire another one? Is that in the plans?
No. The
No,
plan
okay.
is to just cover the work by the extension of the hours for Mr. Watson.
So I have a question. This is Isa Simmons Derby. So if we only have one officer, can we correct that and just take the S off? If it's one, because we're still
Yes.
talking about part-time,
Yes,
right?
sure. Yep. We could change the description. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Isa, because that was confusing me, doubling the salary, but when you get one.
Yeah, and then it
Sure,
looks as if
understandable.
it's more than one. I have a quick question. This is not related, and I'm sorry. How long is this meeting going to go? I mean, I'm going to stay. Going forward, I'm going to work from home, so I won't ask this question again. That I had people coming in from Tel Aviv. I had meetings. So how long will we be? Till like 9? Which is fine. I'll just stay on the phone.
That would be nice.
Okay. So how long is it gonna go? Because I'm in Manhattan. It is not a
Hopefully-
problem as long as I can't miss the last train, but I could get the 9:07. It's not a problem. But how long are we going?
Hopefully sooner than that,
9:07, it's
Isa.
the last one.
Okay. Okay, and then going forward, guys, I won't interrupt. I'll be working from home on this day.
That's okay, Isis, don't worry. All good.
Thank you for your efforts, Isa.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we're all set on that. Any more discussion?
So just before you vote, if there's no discussion, so will the maker of the motion accept as Ms. Simmons' friendly amendment to change that line item to officer instead of officers? Who made the motion?
Isa, yeah,
Berto and Holly.
we did.
So do you accept it?
It's not really necessary. You have the ability to just change it right within the finance office as part of the chart of accounts.
It's simple, a simple change I can make tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So with that change, okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Community development. $316,500. I have a motion.
I motion Holly Rossetti.
You, Holly, can I have a second?
Second, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have one with regard to the economic development liaisons.
Yes.
That is that position being vacated, or because it's going back down to 15,000?
That's the person that we referred to before that is leaving the city, and that the light officer is getting extra hours to cover. So we're offsetting one to the other.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Are we gonna fill that if Carmen's leaving?
We'd like to.
So would like to is a definite or is it no? Don't know.
Yes, we will attempt to fill it. He is also responsible for overseeing the parking garage operation and the community development budget line item. So it's certainly a position that we need to have somebody in.
So do you need the money in this line item right now, or should we put it into the special working balance?
It's an approved position. We want the money left in the account so we can just hire.
It's gonna be like the tax collector where 3 years later and we still don't have a tax collector? Is this gonna be the same type idea?
Jennifer, if we could get a tax collector in, we would. No one wants to apply for it.
No, I'm just asking, that has gone vacant that long. Is this gonna be the same type situation where it's just gonna hang there?
Well, hopefully we're gonna get, stuff, you see how it is out there getting people, hiring people, so everybody's picking at the same pot for stuff, so. But it's in there, so if we can get someone, replace them, I'd really like that.
I'd just like to make a simple comment. If any of you guys want to go on to the GFOA website, they have a list of positions and financial positions in the government that are not being filled because we do not have the pool of employees to fill it.
Absolutely. All right,
And I
any
have-
other discussion?
Yeah, I have a question on the citywide property, 390-0392. I'm just curious, the 200,000, what is that for?
That's for properties that the city may acquire that need to be remediated, made safe, demolished, things like that. That's a coalition for the blight program.
That the city has taken over the property?
In some cases, it's taking over the property. In some cases, it's to use for the Clean and Lean program. There are a couple of different ways that those funds can be used depending upon what takes place within the blight.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, scooch back up to the liaison again.
Yep.
Couldn't that be covered by the economic development director?
Completely different job.
Yeah, he's, Roger's like,
Roger develops our city, is looking forward to bringing new properties in, expanding our tax bases, and easing the burden on our taxpayers. That's not the same as our economic development liaison.
What does he do? I guess I just thought they were kind of the same positions because,
Which, Roger?
no, the liaison.
Walter just went through that.
yeah, Carmen did, I mean, you know, Jen, what Carmen, he knew a lot of the people in the area. He was courting a lot of the business or developers. Somebody call up, he would take them around, show them some properties. And then it just morphed into the garage and he started taking on some other things. It was kind of like a unique, you know, Carmen is Carmen. Carmen really wanted to help out, do what he could for the city. A lot of his was a lot of footwork, legwork, light. So a lot of things fell onto his lap, which is different than what Roger's mainly dealing with the state and the feds for economic development and grants and DEP, DECD. So it's kind of two different things there.
Okay, it's just kind of misleading. That's why I thought
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Carmen just morphed into, you know, Carmen. He just, you know, derby guy that he is, he just really did a lot under that title. So
Did we ever pay him partially out of the parking garage, or did that all come out of City Hall's, out of, you know? That
He was a city hall employee, paid out of city hall, not paid out of the parking garage.
out of this line item. Any other questions?
You don't think it's a good idea to put it in a special working balance for now?
You know, if this way, when he's going, we can get someone right in. It's already there. We don't have to wait and get it transferred back in. So no, I don't think so. It's an approved position and the money's there.
Besides, he's actually a current employee.
Right.
Right, but we're talking next year's budget.
Even though he is a reduced hour employee, he is still a current employee.
Right, but you said he's leaving. When is he leaving?
He's actually extended his stay with us. We don't know when he's actually going to be leaving.
He has spoke about it, so.
So then maybe he won't leave.
You got that right. Would be nice. All right. Any other discussion? Move this question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. Flood control, 9,500. Have a motion?
My motion, Jennifer.
Second. Second.
Patel.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Planning and zoning consultant, $100. Have a motion to accept.
Roberto.
Have a second.
Roberto.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Who was the first?
Chris.
Carloni and then Roberto.
Okay, I only heard Roberto. I'm sorry.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Inland wetland, $190. Can I have a motion?
Roberto motion.
Roberto, second. Anybody?
I second Holly Rossetti.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
I recuse
Aye.
myself.
Okay, who is that, Jen?
Yep.
Okay. Any, all in favor? Any opposed? So carried, just with, Jennifer recusing herself. Senior
Got
Center,
it.
227,000. Can I have a motion to accept?
Berto, make a motion.
I have a second.
I second Holly Rossetti.
Holly, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Steve Riley died.
Any opposed? So carried. Thank you. Parking Division, 117,758. Can I have a motion?
Chris Carloni.
I have a second.
Holly Rossetti.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Tom, can you mute yourself, please?
Sorry.
No problem. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Bonded indebtedness, 3,408,517. Can I have a motion?
Roberto, make motion.
Can I have a second?
Second, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question regarding principals and interest. 500. It seems like it's $800,000 less than last.
Your mumble
Hear
there.
you.
There's about 800,000 less than last year.
These numbers are presented by our bond council. They're actual numbers that we will be paying next year. I have nothing to say in these. This is the numbers that come down for the amortization tables for what we have financed. As we know, like with our mortgages, as we pay our mortgage down, our interest goes down.
Okay.
Roberto, I did go up on the website and I saw where we paid down some,
We paid $1 million in bans on the sewer
yeah,
bans.
and that's what that is.
And that's the same thing with the sewer, 600-0205.
Again, these are numbers that are generated by our actual payments that we have to make next year. I have no negotiation on them whatsoever. They give me the numbers that are given by our bonds that are out there in our bans, and I have to pay what they tell me. You guys signed off on them years ago for these debts, and this is what comes forward.
Any other discussion?
I think what he's really asking, Nancy, is just what brings it down, not.
The interest goes down just like your mortgage or any other loan that you have. As you pay the principal down, the interest you pay each year goes down. As things like bans, which are due the current year, those will fluctuate. I know we took a $3 million ban and reduced it down to 2 million this year. So it reflects in all the numbers that we have here. But those are numbers based on what we've borrowed, and it's an obligation we have to pay, and it comes from our bond council.
And you'd be able to get us a copy of those documents, right?
Absolutely.
I know I saw it up on the website, but
Well, if you saw on the website, it's there.
I know I just never printed it, but I would think everybody else would be interested in it. It's not
Well,
just,
the point is, the information is public and it's available to you. If you don't find it on the website, by all means, give me a call. I'll email you the information.
no,
That
it wasn't
is,
our website. I went out on the, I think it was the state's website. I can't remember now. But it would be nice if the rest of the board was able to see it.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. LoSiP funds, 103,948. Have a motion?
Roberto,
Second.
Chris.
Holly Rossetti.
All right, Holly.
Already.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Keep going, Mark. We're almost there. Home stretch. City Hall maintenance, $318,533. Can I have a motion?
Mike Alberta motion.
Can I have a second?
Holly Rossetti, second.
Thank you, Holly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Citywide agencies. Keep going, Mark, keep going. A little bit more. Excellent, there we go. $269,004. Can I have a motion to accept?
Berto,
I have a second.
Holly Rossetti, second.
Thank you, Holly. Any discussion?
yeah, I have a question on cultural events, 390-0024. Should there be like an increase because of prior events that we've participated in? And
That's your call. I funded it at a stable balance as to the prior year, which was 10,000. If you want to increase it, that's your call. Again, the burden on that is the taxpayers will have to fund that additional funding.
I'm sure all the bands are going to charge more this year for the summer concerts, and the taxpayers love those.
Mark coordinates that. Maybe he can negotiate those rates down to stay within line. Like you said, it's something that taxpayers like to see. But I mean, that's your call.
Mark, is there room in there to negotiate for those things? I don't know. I've never used a band that, you know.
I negotiate as hard as I can. I raised it the other day at the public hearing because that line item had been 15,000 for many, many years. And then for some reason it was cut to 10, but it wasn't apparent why. I mean, whatever the budget is, we do, but it's also the Cultural Commission has other expenses as well. So in fairness to them.
Right, and they can also, they've been raising money and stuff too, so.
Again, that's a boat call because I kept it stable.
how about on city-owned properties? Is that the same thing from above that we talked about on community development? Or is that different?
City-owned
Refer to you.
Is that also the cleanup wall? That's the city-owned?
Which line item are we talking about?
City-owned properties. Is there a
390, 390.
390, yes.
Yes, what? Well,
That is a similar kind of thing, except for that is property that is already owned by the city that needs to be secured in some way, shape, or form. That's the distinction between them.
okay. Thank you.
At the rate of plywood nowadays, that's probably one house, so. All right, any more discussion? Can I have a
Yeah,
motion?
what about our 350-year celebration? Are we starting to put away for that, or are we going to get whopped with one big, it's not that far away,
Yep, that's 2 years out, right?
right? So we're going to hit that one budget, one great big whopping sum. I don't know what the 300 celebration went for, but I'm sure it wasn't cheap.
The only thing I funded out of that so far was the transferred out of the working balance of $3,500 for signs. No one has presented a budget as to what they want to spend on that. So I did not incorporate that. There is room in the working balance to move stuff over within reason, but I need to have a budget of what you're expected to do. I can't just say, oh, I'm going to put $15,000 in there because that's what you want.
Nance, also, you can't carry this money forward from year to year, so it's got to be used if there's nothing earmarked,
It
right?
should be used the year it is incorporated if it's in the general fund. If you you set up a lapsing or a non-lapsing fund, I can carry the funds forward. but I'm not allowed to do that with general fund money because the aldermen have not allowed me to do so. So right now, whatever you put in there, if you don't spend it this year, it rolls right into the fund balance. So without a budget presentation as to what they expect to spend, I'm
You're right, you can't do it. Okay.
I really can't do it.
We'll wait for the,
Is
well,
Chuck Walsh still on? I thought I saw him before, maybe, because he was at the Alderman meeting, and I thought that was a discussion that
it
was.
was, one of the first things we did, he wanted it for the plaques, so we started with that, and then once the committee makes a request for the funds, then we could, start, putting that into the budget.
Is
I
there,
thought we
is
could
there a
carry
committee?
it over- I'm sorry.
Is there a committee?
We gotta get a committee. I know Jack was talking, and I forgot who else was at that meeting, but we're gonna need to get that started too.
I mean, theoretically, we'd like to fund it, but if you don't use it by the end of the year, it goes into the fund balance.
I believe we could carry it over if the board
No,
approves
we
it.
cannot. If it's in the general fund, at the end of the year, if it has not been expended or allocated, it goes to the fund balance.
It has to be a non-lapsing fund, correct, Nance?
Exactly.
Which the alderman wouldn't have in.
They have not approved, so I cannot do that. I can only do that with state and federal grants that do not fall through the city's purview.
All right, any other discussion?
Make up stuff as we go.
Hearing none, we have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Hang on, back up. Can't we appropriate it in the fund balance, hold it aside there? I just don't want to see one great big huge bill come up in 2 years and then.
Jennifer, you can do whatever you want. At the end of the year, when the fiscal year closes out, if the money is not expended, it rolls to fund balance. It does not roll over to the next fiscal year. I
I'm
have
saying
no
fund
budget.
balance. I think I meant the working balance.
I have no, even the working balance rolls back into the fund balance at the end of the year if we do not expend it. Anything in the general fund that is not expended rolls forward into the fund balance. We cannot carry forward
Okay,
the year.
thank you, Nance.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. City fuel, citywide fuel. 150,000. Have a motion.
Motion, Holly Rossetti.
Holly, thank you. Second, please.
Mike Alberta.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Budget working balance, 349,998. I have a motion.
Roberto make a motion.
I have a second.
Jennifer, second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
And do you know the balance on there now on the special working balance?
Yeah, that was one of our questions. It was supposed to be broken out, what's in there.
I can pull that up to you for you in a few minutes, but right now I don't have that in front of me because we're working on the 23-24 budget. That was not a question I was anticipating to answer.
Yeah, because it was on the list here.
Yeah,
That's
the
actually,
list-
that question's been asked 4 or 5 times now.
you know what? They are the numbers are provided to you in the monthly detail. I can get you a number in a few minutes, but bottom line is this is not pertaining to the budget discussion.
It is,
How?
because we want to know what is sitting in the special working balance by dollar. So how is that got nothing to do with the budget? So that when somebody comes
We are
back
working
later
on the
and says,
23-24 budget, not the 22-23.
And I think the question is, what is represented in the special working balance? What items are in the $198,998?
Mark, thank you for clarifying. I'll defer that to Walter.
The items that are in there are contract negotiations, salaries, and the amount that was requested by the fire marshal. We do not give specific amounts when we're involved with contract negotiations. That is just a bad thing to do.
But we have to have some type of idea that what we're putting in there. We may not use it, but
He just
we can't-
explained it. He just explained what's in there.
No,
Salary.
because he left out the HR director's salary. So, I mean, there's three things.
Well, I assume that you know that because you put it in there.
Well, I'm asking you a question. I just want to get an answer. Yes, I put it in there, but I mean, just why play games here?
There's no game playing, Jen. You asked the question, you got your answer.
So we've got contract negotiations. our HR
Salaries.
person, right, the salaries, our HR
And the fire
person
marshal.
and the fire marshal. That's it.
Right
So when
now, that's
somebody
what's
goes to
planned.
transfer anything else out of the special working balance, that's not one of these three things, we understand that the answer is going to be no, right? Because it's not.
No,
it's not in there.
the number,
Not
the number
earmarked
that,
for anything.
the numbers that are in there, which are planned, could wind up being plus or minus. Contract negotiations is not an exact thing. You do your best to estimate what you think the cost will be. It could be higher, it could be lower.
Right, and you put an estimated cost in there for that. That's where you came up with the number. You didn't just pick it out of your ear.
Correct. Correct, but what I'm saying is you can't say that if it's not one of those things, that there's no ability to use the money for something else. If the number in there for contract negotiations winds up becoming less than what was anticipated, you'll have a small amount of surplus in there for that.
And not for nothing, Jennifer, for us to disclose what we've set aside for union negotiations prior to settling gives them the upper hand over the city.
Well, I mean, this is taxpayer money, not that I'm
Yes.
asking you to divulge any information.
No, but if I tell you how much I have set aside for union contract negotiations, I just gave the unions the upper hand. Would you like to do
Right.
that?
No.
Let's just move on. I got those three things. And I just don't want it to come up later on where something else comes out of there that was never put in there. And so that's why I'm questioning.
All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. City engineer, 75,000. They have a motion to accept.
Roberto, motion.
They have a second.
Mike Alberta, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Video I.
Any opposed? So carried. Board of Education, Board of Ed, let's see, $19,375,690. Do I have a motion?
Roberto makes the motion.
I have a second.
Mike Alberta makes a second.
All right, any discussion?
Going back to the, some of the questions yesterday. Are we shorting our students by not giving them more money?
Jennifer, I'm going to interrupt in this right up front. We allocate as a city a dollar amount to the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed and their board allocate how they're going to spend it. Any question as to how they're funded needs to be directed to the Board of Ed, not to the city.
Well, I'm asking because I got a letter here to the editor from Mr. Mayhew that says, let's not forget our children. The damage has been so greatly done by this gross multi-million-dollar financial mismanagement, and their education has been held hostage. So I'm just questioning. That's been flatlined for the second year in a row. So I'm just want to make sure that we're doing the best by our students.
We turned around and increased their budget by 1.6% over the previous year. Again, we give them a dollar amount. The Board of Ed's board and the Board of Ed develop their budget. We're not allowed to question that. They can transfer within their budget at any time to cover any item that they need. We do not authorize that. We only authorize a dollar amount to go over to them, which is 19 million or 375,690. Once they get that money, they can utilize that any way they want. I have no control over their budget, nor does anybody in the city.
Nobody's asking that. I'm asking, are we giving them enough money is what I'm
Well,
asking. I'm not
if
asking
they-
you to account for what they're doing.
If they gave me a line by line budget item listing all of their expenditures with their vacant positions, I could tell you that, but I do not get a detailed budget.
If I may interrupt, because I know that Dr. Conway is on the call.
Yes.
If it's okay for him to validate and justify this number here, 19,375,690, and I think he can shine a light on what we're asking. Dr. Conway, you're still there?
I am, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Doc.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, the Board of Ed was asking for the 20,842,000 to cover all increased costs based upon a very conservative budget, looking at contractual increases and increases for other services that we contract for going into next year. There's zero fluff in that budget. So the 198, well, greatly appreciated. And to Nancy's point, the 1.6% is what was proposed, not what was asked for. The Board of Ed, which does, as Nancy mentioned, manage the line item budget. That's their job. That's what you elect them to do. Proposed the 4.29% in terms of what's needed to keep operating with our current staffing in the operating budget, by which we've reduced significantly over the past 7 years. So the number of staff in that budget is less than that in previous years because we've moved people. We've had to move people out because numbers went down. To Mr. Carloni's point, we've reduced 6 classes at Bradley alone over the past 6 years. Last year, if you recall, we had to add back 2 of those classes that went into our alliance funding. This year again, the first and second, the kindergarten 1 that are now moving up to 2-3 grades 2-3. We need to now add a third second grade teacher and a third grade teacher. That's what's in your budget for the increase for this year. Last year, we put those into Alliance because we did not get the funding. I do have a proposal for the committee, if the chairman would allow, that might be a good place to land and still fund what we need to fund in our operating budget. We should not be putting our regular teachers in grants. These aren't additional positions. These are core positions that the district needs, that we've reduced, by the way, because numbers went down in prior years. Those numbers are going back up. So 2 grades last year, as those grades move up, those students are moving up. We need to add 3 teachers in grade 2 and 3 this year. Those are the only additional positions added to the budget that were previously in the budget. But again, we reduced them over the past 6 years because the numbers went down.
All right, thanks, Doc. Mark, bring the budget up again, please.
If there,
If I could interject for a minute as well. Again, as Dr. Conway said, and I think it was Nancy who started it, said, 1.6% increase. Unfortunately, that's a 1.6% increase over zero, because the budget has been flat the last few years. We had just spoken it's probably an hour ago now, maybe 45 minutes, about the ARPA funding, and ARPA being a grant to municipalities, in essence, have parameters around which the money should be used. Dr. Conway just mentioned being an Alliance district, you get Alliance money, and he's putting core teachers into Alliance grant. An Alliance grant is supposed to be used for enhancing educational opportunities for students. It's been said in the past that, the Alliance designation is detrimental to the town, the city. In essence, it's actually bringing in more money to the city. It's not just, I think it was Ms. Hyder said it last night, that it's not just that we're an Alliance district, but we're also a distressed municipality, which plays into becoming an Alliance district. With all that said, the grant that we're supposed to be using to enhance our education, to make improvements, has been used for the past several years to cover costs within the operating budget. And kudos to Dr. Conway and his team, because they're finding ways to put it into the operating budget when it's not supposed to be in there. And when we talked about ARPA, everybody's ears were up about violating any kind of parameter around that. But when we talk about Alliance, it's been said in the past 2 years that I've been on this board, they can just put it in the grant. They get tons of grant money. These grants have parameters. You cannot supplant your operating budget. But unfortunately, that's what we're doing. A, it's taking away opportunities from our students. B, it's creating gaps in our curriculum, because from year to year, they're trying to fill these holes using grants. Some of that money runs out. They can't fund it continually to keep people on. So we're, in essence, going backwards educationally in this town, and we're not going to draw families if we continue to do this. What I would suggest is this, and anybody can entertain this, and we can maybe make a motion out of it. Right now, the governor released a budget, and for Alliance districts, there are increases in the amount they're getting. So for Derby, for instance, is let me just double check really. So Derby is proposed to get an increase of $392,000 because they're an Alliance district. Okay. If they get that money, add that on to the $198,326 that we're getting, that's proposed in the mayor's budget, and that gets you to $430,000. I would propose we have a 0.4 reduction in the mill rate. I would propose let's make this budget whole by giving another $232,277, and you're still reducing the mill rate probably by about 0.15 or 0.18, somewhere in that neighborhood. So you're still reducing the mill rate. You're making the education budget whole for the first time since I've been on this board. This is my 4th go around in the budget. I think that's a pretty fair ask, because when you look at districts right now across the state, their Board of Education budgets that are approved and going through to their boards of finance are averaging anywhere from probably 3.3% to 3.7%. If we do this, I think, Dr. Conway, when we started, it was probably 4.2, but it's only going to be a 2.2% because you have this Alliance increase. So really, to the town, it's only a 2.2% increase, which is half of what they were actually asking for in the beginning anyway. So I would put that out there and make a motion to amend that amount by $232,277.
I second that motion. Jennifer.
Would you repeat the amount, please? 232.
$232,277.
Thank you. I didn't get that. Okay, got it.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to amend that number.
Excuse me, before you make a motion, there's still discussion. In the last 7 to 8 years, there's still the fact that we have lost 289 students. That's almost a whole school. Now with 289 students missing, that means we have smaller classrooms in some classrooms. I understand that some classrooms are going up. So that gives our teachers a less burden of teaching as many students. I just don't see, I just can't see giving another more money than what's already proposed, because we've already gone up in the last 7, 8 years, almost $2 million. And we've lost 289 students. So you could go ahead.
Understood, Chris. No, I understood. Yeah, enrollment had gone down for years. Since October of this year, though, if you look in the booklet that Dr. Conway shared with us, just since October, the enrollment has increased by 43 students. The other factor you have to put in here is the cost of special education, and the district can't control who moves in and what types of services they require. And I think the district has also proven in the last few years that they're trying to create systems, procedures, policies, and programs within our district to retain these children at a lower cost to the district than if we had to send them to an outside school, a private school. So I think they've really done a good job with that. And he also is projecting another 115 students higher for next year. So I think there is an influx of people coming in, but again, it's not just the amount of students, it's the types of students, and it's where the services are needed. So, and as a point of clarification, I think I said I wanted to amend. I don't want it to be changed from 198, 326 to 232, 277. I want to put an additional 232, 277 on top of the 198. So that would bring it to, I believe it's right around $430,000. So again, that's a 2.2% increase, as opposed to what the board was actually asking for, which was a little more than 4.1%, I believe. And again, that's still keeping a reduction in the mill rate.
So may I just, from a point of information, just to try to understand, which line item are we talking about increasing? 100, no, I know, but there's two lines. There's 100, 100 and 460, 469.
So this would go into the 100, 0, 100.
Okay.
Yes,
Mike,
it
what's
could.
the net increase that you're proposing?
Yes.
What's the net increase and the final amount that you're proposing?
So the 232, 277 added on to the preliminary approved budget of 198, 326 would bring it to 43603, which would make the overall number 19. I'm just trying to do quick math here. Sorry.
Does that look right on the screen? I did a formula here. I added the 1,250,000 or the 12,510,000 plus 232,277 brings you to 12,742,277. The other number remains the same, and then you add that number comes to 19,607,967.
Yes, I just computed that quickly. That's correct, Mark.
Okay, so we double check it. Okay. I could take it out.
What's your thought on this? What's your thought about helping the students out more?
Who you're asking, Jennifer?
The mayor.
The mayor.
I presented my budget, which, you have in front of you. It was an increase. This is the pleasure of your board now.
I'm asking you what your thought is on giving more to the students and helping this school out. I'm not asking you about the
We
budget.
did,
I'm
yeah,
just
we
asking
did.
what's your thought.
And I did on my budget, I presented to, an increase for the school system. So, I mean, this is up to you now. I mean, I presented my budget. You have the power right now to decide what you want to do on this. I do believe in helping the children out, and I did present an increase in
You're
my.
all for it. So we could say. you're for it, right?
I did produce an increase in my budget. So this is now your budget that you're looking at. You decide how you want to do it.
Now, Mike, Gray, and Jennifer second the motion if we want to do that.
Yes, I seconded it.
Excuse me. Okay, so to amend this, any more discussion? I'll go for the amendment on this for the number. So I'll do a roll call vote, please, Louise.
Okay, Mr. Alberta, I'm sorry.
No.
Mr. Carloni,
Oh,
Mr. Roche,
Yes.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Gray. Thank you. Torrizetti,
I have to recuse myself.
Ms. Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Ms. Simmons Derby.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses, 2 nos, and 1 recluse. Can't even say it. Recuse.
Is that enough to pass it or no, Louise?
7. Oh, it's
No, you need
5 to
7.
2.
Need 7, right?
All right, can we table this for now and we can talk about it tomorrow?
no.
Well, I'll leave like 2 items on the agenda for tomorrow.
Things do we have on the agenda for tomorrow?
Well, I'm thinking if we talking about our capital again, we put that one aside. And this
Why don't you passed on one item, why don't you just finish everything first and then
Exactly.
see what you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll pass on this for now?
Why?
No.
Yeah,
I have to
why are
answer
we?
to you, Nancy.
No,
Why-
I'm asking you, you guys
You
all.
sound like
just-
my mother.
Thank you so much. I must be impressed. I raised a very smart woman.
Well, we couldn't compete to my mother, boy. I'll tell you.
In any
Okay.
event,
Okay, so you could either vote or pass. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. You can vote or pass. It doesn't mean, you can, if you want to adopt it as the final number, if you have 7 votes for that, if you don't, then you just move on to the next. Or talk all night, whatever, but you're probably better off to, from a process standpoint, you're probably better off to either pass or vote, but either way, finish the rest of the stuff to see where you're at, if you could finish it tonight.
How many more items do we have to go?
Well,
It's ISA.
you have youth officers, and then you have to talk about the income, and then you have to go back and talk about the other issue that you talked about before, the capital. and
Oh,
Where-
and that's tonight, cause it's 8:30. I'm in a city, so I'm going to, can I excuse myself? Or do you need me to be on the phone? I mean, I could call back, but I don't want to be here. It's kind of dangerous. I don't want to stay here too late.
Mark, quick question. Does that change the quorum?
Does that change anything?
No, you still need
Yes.
7, excuse me,
Mhm.
thank you, Ms. Pitney.
I'm sorry.
You need 7 votes regardless. So however, 2 are missing, two people are not here. So if one person leaves, we have 7. You need everybody to vote in favor of everything else. If you get, if there's time, by the time you get home or on the phone, maybe you could It might still be on the meeting, but that's up to you. I mean, that's up to the board. I mean, you know, just my observation, I would try to get through what you can get through and then go back to the stuff where you had disagreement, which it seems like there's only two things.
No, I appreciate the feedback, Mark. I think, yes,
But that's up to
just
you.
for now, let's just set it aside for now, go through the rest, and then get back to that Board of Education and the general capital.
All right, so. All right, so you're holding off on the Board of Ed in the capital. We're going to continue on to youth services.
Right.
Okay. Youth services, 80,222. Have a motion to accept.
Roberto motions.
Have a second.
Holly, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Slide it down, Mark.
Nope, that's not me. Sorry.
No, I said slide it
Oh, sorry.
down. No, that's it. All right.
Sorry, I'm ahead of myself.
Special ed is. All right, so now we're down to 47,792,86, but we have those two open departments.
So you want to go to the income?
Yeah. All right, so the proposed income,
Mark, could you hide those columns so that we could see the numbers?
Hide which columns?
The 18, 19, 12, the old stuff, just so that
Okay.
it pulls it over. Okay,
all right, slide it down to the bottom, Mark, please.
It's the numbers on the top.
Or is it? Where is it?
Up here, see it on top, up here.
Oh, there, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're not. Yeah.
Late, yeah. All right, so the revenue is 47,559,809. But you added the extra for the school.
No, and there was no income to be added for that. That was
We
just.
haven't, we
That's the
haven't gone
expense.
over the income yet. But apparently, if you're gonna add income to the expenditures, you're gonna have to increase the income somewhere.
Yeah.
And please don't ask me where, because my numbers are as conservative as they can be.
The two proposed changes in the expenses would result in a tax increase of approximately 1.1 mil. If they're both moved forward with. That would be the increase in the capital and the increase in the Board of Ed.
okay, are we gonna start going over the income now, or, and then when we get to the bottom, then decide where we tweak from there?
Well, there's the income's in front of you, so. What do you
Right,
want?
so are we gonna start talking about it?
Go ahead, start talking about it. What do you want to talk about?
Property taxes.
Yes.
Walt said to NFAC that we're at a 97% collection rate, but here you've got 99%.
That's a budgeted estimate for the actual year end close of 99%. Historically, we have been between 98.89% and 100.2%.
Okay, but that's this year's taxes and past years. I mean,
No.
why did, I
Pardon
just
me?
need to know why he would say to MFAC on these budget figures, it was 97%, and
The amount that was mentioned to MFACT on the meeting last week was that we have as of March 31st, 2023, which are on the reports that you guys have received, is at 97% current we have probably, by historical records, under the last 5 years, collected between $600,000 and $1 million between April 1st and June 30th, which puts us at the 99%. However, our current collection rate does not reflect on our budget now that we're putting forward in 2024.
But MFAC did state that they were overstating the budget.
No,
for
they did not.
taxes.
Would you like to forward me the recording that you saw that on? Because I was on that meeting. And no, we had presented actuals of 90%, 97% as of 3/31/2023.
Well, something's not right here.
There is no well. That's the numbers, the actual numbers that the city of Derby collected through 3/30/2023 on current year taxes.
People in Derby like to pay their taxes.
And they're
They
doing
have
a nice
a
job of
history
it.
of doing it. They have a history of doing it.
We have a history from the last 15 years of collecting between 99 and 103%.
Plus the
How
liens.
could you collect 103%? You're adding past taxes into this. It's not your current year taxes.
Also, the tax
And you're not
liens.
breaking it out separately.
103% would represent adjustments in assessments in the properties during the course of the year. You go through assessment bureaus, houses get it reappraised and adjusted.
Yes.
Our grand list
What the-
changes. It's
Anything else, John?
To me, I'm just not comfortable with it, because to say one thing to, MFAC and tell us something different, and
MFAC did
I'm
not
just
say
not-
anything.
I'm just not comfortable with it.
As of
MFAC
March 31st, she just said we're at 97%.
The information that MFAC gets is generated by the cities of Derby's financial system, which is GEMS. They get the reports that I distribute to you guys as the boat.
Mhm.
They get nothing different. They had a number that was 97% and agreed and concurred that we, at March 31st, were at 97% collection rate. We consistently reach 99%, with the exception of a few years that we reached 98.69%. Those are reasonable numbers,
Those are great numbers.
and that's thanks to the taxpayers.
Well, I mean, Agatha also said we didn't have a 99% collection rate. I mean, to me, it's just inflated.
Those are the actual numbers, audited numbers for the last 10 years that I went through to give you that information today, which I was requested by the mayor to research.
Okay, I gotta sleep on that one. I'm just not comfortable. Okay, we can go on.
Can you scroll a little bit on that worksheet? Thank you.
Tell me when to stop.
Also previously asked about miscellaneous revenue.
Right, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, it was up above and it was highlighted on the first part of the page. The $80,000 is actually lower than what we've collected in the last 3 years on miscellaneous revenue. We under budgeted. Our actuals were actually 92 and 90 or and $85,000 in miscellaneous revenue per the audit report.
Right.
80,000 is less than 30,000?
Pardon me? You know what? Those are not reports that I generated. So what you have on the screen did not come from my office. The numbers that were
Almost
generated,
did.
the numbers that were
Because-
generated, the numbers that were generated on the GEMS systems report and confirmed for miscellaneous revenue were 80 and 90 plus in the 2 years prior. Actual year to date as of the 31st might have been $30,000. Amended budget is not an actual number. I'm referring to the actual 2 prior years collection rates were 80 and 92,000.
Actually,
Are
actually,
on
they
budget
were,
reports.
I have the full sheet. Actually, in 2021, it was 92.
With the actuals.
They're both actual. There's a 92 and a 91. So I
Thank you.
say 20. Oh, no. So 2021 was 92 and 22 was 91.
So my $80,000 is reasonable.
Well, 21, 22, I mean, that was, COVID stuff, so we would have got miscellaneous stuff in between 20, 21, 22,
It's in the
23.
prior year.
It's 30,000.
30,000s are the budget and the actual year-to-date for 2023. It is not an actual collected number that are audited. Talking 2 prior years previous.
So where are we with the audit?
Hopefully by the end of this month we'll be done. If not, by the end of May, which is a year in advance from what we've done prior.
Let's go through that income again. Is the revenue 47,559,809? And we got more of the expenses.
Correct.
Okay. Which I believe we right now have to go through the expenses. Am I correct?
No, the revenues.
No,
You just
revenue.
went through the expenses.
These revenues.
Mark, is it possible you can email us a copy of what you have there? And I want to make a motion to adjourn until tomorrow.
Okay, you have it, but I'll email it again. I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
You have other business though.
Yeah, there's other items on the agenda. don't forget.
Yeah, we should move on
Right.
to new business instead of adjourning. You adjourn after the new business.
Yeah.
Let's do the new business, please. Number 7.
So Roberto, we're not going to finish the revenue tonight?
Well, unfinished business, that was unfinished business, right? The revenue
Right.
and the worksheets that we're looking at right now to try to look at the revenue and where we can make up the difference. Do we want to finish that right now?
No, I was just asking if that was the case, if we're moving on to new business.
Right, because right now, it's going to be 10 minutes to 9. It's been almost 3 hours, and we have to look at this even further because it's not just making a decision right now off the hip and what we have to look at.
Suggesting to all of you, because our revenues are so conservative, you may want to take tonight and look over those numbers because there really is nothing I can raise more that I would feel comfortable doing unless you guys come up with some miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Otherwise, you're raising taxes.
Nancy, is it possible for you to send us updated actuals for the past 2 years that go along with each of those line items?
You guys actually have them.
They're-
In the 5-year plan, they're all in there.
Yeah, but that was
Five-year
as of the
budget.
17th. We have another week's worth of stuff coming in.
There, $180,000 came in tax revenue. Other than that, I can send you more updated revenues, but you keep in mind when you're actually looking at our budget, the bulk of our revenue, the heart of our city, is our taxes. The secondary funding that is stable and also not changeable is the state of Connecticut. When you start playing with the other lines, like Mark said, he's not even 100% certain that his funds for the revenue for town clerk is going to go to 400,000. I mean, I put that at last year's actual, but he admitted that's not a guarantee. So anything other than state, which is a guarantee, and the taxes, which is what you create, everything else is in flux. So you really need to have you really have to look at what numbers are. I'm sorry, did I get zoomed off?
No, you're on.
Oh, I lost my screen, sorry. But that's something you guys have to look at. My numbers are conservative. You can move them around the way you want because you are the boat and it's your determination. But right now, in my eyes, with my 30 years experience, it looks like you're looking at a tax increase. That's my call, but it's your call because it's your budget. That's just my suggestion.
Mark, could you reshare that document with me? Because I don't believe I have that.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking at what we print. Yeah, I think it might have been cut off or we shrunk it. So I'll make sure that it has all the actuals on it. They're there. I think in the first one.
The cells might have been hidden.
Yeah,
they
that's what it
were
was.
hidden
Yeah.
just so it's easier to see.
I'll resend that when the meeting's over.
Thanks.
And just if I may, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Chair, just that town clerk receivable, as Madam Deputy Finance Director said, you know, last year was an anomaly with an extremely busy year with real estate. So I mean, it's your prerogative and the mayor's prerogative or whatever everybody recommended, but there's no way we can guarantee what it is. It's not like we can sell more houses or force more people to have babies.
Right, right.
That's, it's a place we've always exceeded because the board always put a conservative amount in there. That's not something you have to decide tonight. It's just a point, just so the record's clear. I mean, if we try our best, but you know, we don't really know how that's going to work out.
Okay.
So probably better, it sounds like, if I may, it sounds like better to redistribute this and look at it tonight.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Yep.
Mayor, are you there?
Sorry about that. So we're gonna be moving on to number 7 now. 7.1 human resources, 7.1.1, $14,500 from line item 2,500-110-0113 finance director to 1,800-110-0110 human resource director. Have a motion?
Motion, Mike Alberta.
Have a second? A second?
Second, Mike Ray.
Thanks, Craig. Any discussion?
I'm against it because I'm waiting for the Board of Aldermen's opinion on that. So that's just my stand on it.
John Marini, you want
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, big appreciation to you all. I know it's not easy to go through budget negotiations anytime. And you've been at it a while on this one, so I think a great job by all involved. You know, in terms of this particular issue, you know, I'm asked as Corporation Counsel to render an opinion, right, based on what I see, an interpretation of what I see as the charter, how it applies to the facts. I understand, you know, as an attorney, I'm used to, you know, to opinions sometimes, you know, being criticized if it doesn't go exactly, you know, the way that you like it. My kids and I have been watching NBA playoffs for a while, and I know it's really popular on both sides, right? Both sides have this in common, like to yell at the refs. It's pretty an everyday occurrence, even if you're going to youth sports, and I get it. And in a way, you know, being city attorney is like being a ref, except one big distinction. We got to remember we're all on the same team, unlike the NBA. And in this situation, you know, I understand there's a balance of power, right? That's my interpretation. And the Board of Aldermen, Alderwomen have a very, very strong power here to set salaries and compensation for city officials pursuant to section 59. And there's no doubt about that. And there's no doubt about that that carries a lot of power. But they do not have the ability to set hours, to set schedules. That falls to the chief executive, to the mayor. And a lot of times the both sides just have to come together to figure out what to do. In this situation, you have an existing employee. So this isn't actually a new hire at all. You have an actual existing employee. You have a desire by the mayor to change the schedule to suit the needs of the city and to fulfill what I believe everyone is on the same page with, that we need a full-time HR director or to meet the personnel needs of the city. That's a recommendation that we've received from outside the city. The aldermen, alderwomen certainly have the ability to set a pay rate. They have in fact done that, but it's my call, right? Calling it as I see it, calling the charter, that they don't have the ability to create a schedule, to dictate hours, or to, for example, put together a job description. And again, I get it that you may say, hey, that's not the way it's been done. That's not the way I want it to be. But that's the way that I see it, and I'm being honest and upfront when I put out my opinion that says it that way. So, again, you could ignore the ref, I guess, but what I'm saying is that there's a balance of power. I'm hoping that the mayor and the board of aldermen, alderwomen could sort of put their heads together on this and use each piece of the power correctly here. That the mayor needs to be able to dictate a schedule for the employees. He's the chief executive. He's responsible for that. And here, the legislative authority does have clear discretion over pay, and they clearly have set an hourly rate. I'm hoping that you could use both pieces together. But as far as this board is concerned, this board only has an obligation to fund that liability. I believe it's doing so tonight. And then it's really up to the mayor and the board of aldermen to work it out, going forward how they're going to work together at getting on the same page for these things.
Well, the Board of Aldermen approved $49 an hour for 8 hours a week. So that's what was approved.
Yeah, my only issue is that comes into schedule, right? You're approving an hourly rate, but then, and which is fine, but which is absolutely, the authority of the board. But you're going beyond that by also dictating the hours. And I think that is running afoul of the authority. And again, I have no problem hearing your opinion on that.
At the time. Right?
I can only call it as, at that point, I wasn't around to be asked. I'm asked and I have to, I'm trying to see everything, how it works together and render an opinion that makes sense. And it makes sense to say both sides have a very important power. Each side has to be able to use it. And a lot of times they got to work together to make it make sense. But you can't, telling the chief executive that he can't utilize staff in a way that he may legally be needed to do so, that certainly doesn't make sense to me.
All I'm doing is following the charter and what was said.
Same.
I'm not telling him he can or can't do anything. If the charter is followed, then
Well, you're actually trying to.
I'm trying to what?
I don't think anyone's intentionally trying to get, there's a practice I know that's been, or at least a way it's been thought of in the past, right? And I think that in a way, everybody's right. It's just that part of that power is with the mayor, part of it's with the board of aldermen. I think the charter does allow the mayor to say, hey, I need that full-time work. And hey, the board of aldermen, alderwomen could revisit this and say, hey, what should that hourly rate be? But it can't be up to one authority to do everything. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, I'm going by the decision that was made. As far as I understand, it has not been changed. So that's just what I'm basing my decision on what the decision was made. $49 an hour for 8 hours a week.
Mr. Maria, this is the chairman. Is there a way we can put this into the special working balance onto the negotiations of the mayor and the aldermen, alderwomen? Conclude on what the final thing is?
It is already in the working balance. This is the current budget, not prior year or not future year.
So you're being asked to fund it now in the current year's budget. And
I have a person working in the city of Derby that's doing a job and being paid for it and requesting funds to cover it.
And there's a practical application as well, is that this is simply work that needs to get done. And the mayor's
It has to be done.
And Nancy and the mayor are in a great position to explain how it's great to say, hey, we'll wait and see how it works out later. But meanwhile, the personnel needs of the city, which often intersect with legal and could have very serious consequences, need to be met full time for the time being in this way. I think it's a great recommendation that the mayor and aldermen, have this dialogue as to how to use their pieces of the power here together. But for right now, certainly, it needs to be funded. And again, it's my opinion that, again, it is pursuant to the charter that the mayor has the ability to schedule it full time. The board then has the ability to schedule the hourly rate. It works that way, but you're being faced with really a necessity to fund this position in a way that meets the legal obligations of the city.
The Board of Aldermen haven't approved it, and I don't see why would be a problem to hold it off until
Jennifer,
July.
there is a current employee in place, and the hours are required to meet the demands that we have to perform as a city under human resources. And as much as I'd like to say I can do it all, I'm not schooled in that.
Louise,
She's been doing it 1 day a week for how long? I'm sorry, Roberto. She's been doing it 1 day a week for how long? I don't think that it would make a difference for a couple more months.
So we're in the middle of
She just started, she just started, boom. All of a sudden she was full time. So I don't know, just.
Jennifer, we're in the middle of contract negotiations. We'd like to change our healthcare to save the city money. She's instrumental, but unbelievably important in that aspect of negotiating things and being part of this conversation.
There's also the idea of simple compliance with the law with respect to personnel that's necessary. Again, it's simply your legal counsel's advice, not counsel for the mayor, not counsel for a board of aldermen or alderwomen, but counsel for the city. That if your chief executive is saying he needs full-time personnel, I'm highly, highly recommending to you from Corporation Counsel that you allow this to go forward to make sure the immediate needs of the city are met. Period.
I don't know why it didn't go in front of the Board of Aldermen. I mean, why is everything always so sneaky? And this person's going to start this day. This person's going to start that day. I mean, this should have been planned on. I mean, the Board of Aldermen didn't approve it. That's just my position. It doesn't have to be anybody else's. It's mine.
All right, we know your position, Jen. So any other discussion on this? We're going to move this question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Opposed.
Aye.
Can I get a roll call?
Yeah, give me a roll call there, Louise.
Mr. Alberta,
No, I'm voting on. Yes.
transfer.
Go ahead.
You voted yes on the transfer.
Yeah.
you're voting yes? Mr. Carloni,
No.
Mr. Roche,
No.
Mr. Gray, Mr. Gray,
Sorry, no.
Ms. Orizzetti,
I'm recusing myself again, Louise. I apologize.
oh, no apology. Ms. Patel,
No.
Mr. Santos,
No.
Ms. Simmons Derby. She may be off. Okay, you've got 5 no's, 1 yes, and 1 recuse.
So that means a no, we'll hold it back till tomorrow. Try it again, see if we get a quorum.
There's one more item.
We got it there.
Is the mayor's muted. The next item is item number 7.
Oh, sorry about that.
No,
So
that's okay.
7.2.1, $770 from 1,300-480-0484 electronic record management to 1,300-280-0280 education. Can I have a motion?
I motion Holly Rossetti.
I
Second.
second. A second, Jennifer.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Alberta, no. Okay,
Opposed, one. Motion carries.
all right. 8 for adjournment, a motion.
I make a motion for adjournment and we'll meet tomorrow at the same time.
6 o'clock, yep.
I second the motion. Holly Orzatti.
All righty, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meeting's over.
Excuse me,
The
Mr. Mayor.
time is 9:05.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, he's gone.
You know what, before you guys leave, I just want to let you guys know something. Not funding that position in HR is killing my department. My girls are already working 40+ hours a week, and I'm not paying them more than 35. So it's not being recorded as part of the meeting, but just to let you know, it's hurting the city hugely. And I'm lucky to have 2 girls that are working so hard to get that stuff accomplished that we really do need an HR person.
Well, why didn't you go to the Board of Aldermen?
I was there.
I don't think you were there last time around about it. I mean.
I was there both times when they
instead
knocked
of-
down both positions.
Well, then there's a reason. Find out what the reason is.
Well,
In fairness to the public, the meeting is adjourned, so I'm gonna close it unless there's more discussion, but really there shouldn't be.
there shouldn't
we're
be,
done.
but
We're
thank
done.
you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, Miss Simmons Derby was on the meeting. Okay, all right. Have a good night. It's
Good.
9:06 PM.
I missed the part where they stopped talking about the budget. I stepped upstairs to talk to my son for a moment. So I don't mean to laugh. I'm laughing at myself because, of course, I stepped away after 3 hours, and then I assume they didn't pass a budget. I think that's what happened at the end. So that was quite a meeting. I guess they're going to meet again tomorrow to try to finalize the Derby budget. They have until Friday to do so, according to the city charter. Sorry about that noise. So some highlights there from that meeting. I mean, you heard, obviously there's a lot of tension between members of the tax board and the mayor's office, particularly, I've seen emails between Roberto Santos, the chairman, he is a member of the local Democratic Party, and Walt Mayhew, the mayor's chief of staff, where they're butting heads. That is for sure. You're also hearing a lot of back and forth. It's an adversarial relationship between Jen DeRoche, who is a member of the local Democratic Party and a member of BOAT, and Nancy Balsis, who is a relatively new assistant or deputy finance director for the city of Derby. There was definitely conflict there from pretty much the whole meeting. In terms of the things they disagreed upon, I guess the biggest one, if you're talking dollar amounts and not like acrimony, it would be the school budget. There was a motion made by Mike Gray to, I think, add, $232,000 to the school budget as opposed to the $198 that's been proposed. I think the city of Derby funding, city only, according to the mayor's office and Walt Mayhew, would be a 1.6% increase to the school district. And on the table right there at the end, but not acted upon, as far as I know, unless it happened when I walked away, was they were talking about a 2% city of Derby contribution to the local school budget. So that was a bone of contention there. You heard earlier in the meeting, there was some questioning between Jen DeRoche and the administration over liability insurance, which is actually falling a lot. And basically, the mayor and the assistant finance director said that those are the numbers we have and we stand by it. You heard some debate over the amount of money in the special working balance. The total was $198,998. You had Jen DeRoche again asking the administration for more specifics as to what dollar amounts are in the special working balance, or what projects or what initiatives or what policy matters are embedded within that almost $200,000 line item there. You had the mayor and Walt Mayhew talking about, well, there's contract negotiations coming up for the various unions, although they didn't say specifically which unions are coming up. The emphasis from Walt was that they cannot go too much, can't delve too much into how much they want to give because these are negotiations, but they can say which ones they are negotiating with. So that's sort of what jumped out at me, but overall you can see there's a lot of tension in this process. As proposed, capital, that was the other one. Jen DeRoche wanted to add some money to capital. General capital, I think, was the line item. The Capital Commission hasn't met, I guess, in a year. Capital Commission, they get together and they tackle sort of the big ticket items. There's a giant wish list of things that need to be fixed, purchased in the city of Derby and the school district, and the Capital Planning Commission traditionally gets together and makes a list of what can be funded. There's never enough money for all the projects. For whatever reason, for reasons that I just don't understand, that commission has just stopped meeting. It's bizarre, and especially compared to other towns where their capital list of capital projects is right out there and easy to do. So you had Jen DeRoche saying, should we put more money into the capital planning line item in case something comes up? And you had a fiscal difference of opinion where you had the deputy finance director saying, no, that number is solid. We can't put money in there on the what if. Let's budget for anything we have. There's no capital planning commission. We don't have a list right now. That money is solid. And of course, the concern among the mayor, I think, was and Walt pointed out that if you put more money to the school district above and beyond what the mayor has proposed, and if you put more money into capital planning above and beyond what the mayor has proposed, you'll have something, I think he said a 1.1 mil increase as opposed to the 0.4 decrease that has been proposed. So I think that was pretty much the arguments that we heard. There was some discussion about the tax collection rate with Jen DeRoche, and this had been pointed out by Sarah Wadomski at a previous boat meeting. The assertion that Walt Mayhew told MFAC, which is a organization keeping an eye on Derby finances. It's a volunteer thing where Derby goes to them and there are a bunch of bean counters and everybody counts the beans together. Walt had said 97% collection rate. This budget is forecasting a 99% tax collection rate. Of course, that's revenue. That's the revenue the city's getting in to pay for all these expenditures. And then you had, I believe, the assistant finance director, and maybe Walt weighed in too, saying, no, that 97% was where we are right now. There's still a lot of time between now and the end of the fiscal year. And there's 10 years of data going back saying Derby always collects at least at 99%. So, that's it. I think it comes down to you have definitely a level of distrust there that's playing out in these meetings. There's not, the school budget is where they're the furthest apart in terms of dollar amounts, and the other things seem like almost, I think it's fair to call them as a distrust more than anything else. Embodied by the questions asked by Jen DeRoche, and it definitely got kind of nasty. It's definitely nastier compared to, I haven't seen the Derby boat this cantankerous since Dr. Tracy was the superintendent and Mayor Stafari was mayor. And then when we had Jim Butler, so you had a Democrat chairing the tax board, and then you had a Republican mayor, and then Dr. Tracy as the school superintendent. And that was about 2009. I'm talking about 2010. That's the last time it was sort of a lot of butting heads like this, but it happens. I guess, we all live in Derby. And so at the end of the day, we all want Derby to succeed. And I'm going to end on that. And this video will be live. It's live right now on the Valley Indy website. And I have to go put some words to it. Thank you for everybody who watched.